And we are live again.
Once
Rooted in
again, it's
Sport,
on. Once
Rooted in
again, it's
Sport,
on.
Rooted in Sports Mondays with your boy Swan Don and King Tiberius. Right. Obviously, this is our second official Monday. I don't know. I don't. What do you think? Do you kind of like Mondays? I kind
I
of enjoyed
do.
having my. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed having my Sundays back a little bit.
Yeah, it's the Sabbath. It's the day to rest. You know what I'm saying? But no, these Mondays is tough though. I do like it for real, for real.
Yeah, you get off work, get something to look forward to on the work day. So,
Word,
but we
word.
but we got some good stuff to get into. Obviously, it's the NBA playoffs, the semifinals is all the rave right now. So that'll be a majority of our topics today. We'll go through each and every game in the series, and then
Sir.
of course me, I got to slide just a little bit of football in there. We had some
Oh yeah.
comments
Some
by
very
Ryan,
interesting comments. Oh yeah.
right? Some controversial comments that have divided people by Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis, and then CBS released a interesting quarterback, I guess quarterback tiers. Tier one, I want to say it's 1 through 7. And it was Jason Lockenford did it. It was released May 4th, and it was very interesting. Definitely kind of questionable where some of the names are, so we'll slide through that really quick as well.
Word,
But
word, word.
it is good to have you guys, and let's go ahead and get into our trusty promo, our trusty intro, and then we'll jump right into the action.
Let's go. Man, bro, did we add some sounds or something to that thing? Boy, my headphones was boom, 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 boom. I was okay.
Like you back at a black high school with the band.
Man, that thing was hidden, man. Hold on, now pay some good money for these, huh?
Oh yeah. Shout out to my boy Ben Bands. He made that beat himself. He based out of Houston, so check him out if you can. So
Absolutely.
now that we got the intro out the way, so what we got these Ryan Tannehill comments, Mr. Swan. I'll let you tell me what you think about it.
So for those that don't know, Ryan Tannehill, obviously present day starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. He did a little press conference after the NFL draft. The Tennessee Titans used I forgot what you remember what pick it was?
I want to say it was
Willis.
Like the third pick, third round, 67th
third
pick,
round. Okay. Use a third round pick on one Malik Willis, quarterback from Liberty. And
86 pick.
86 pick. Tennessee used it on a quarterback, Malik Willis from Liberty University. And basically Ryan Tannehill in this press conference, I'm not gonna say he voiced his displeasure, but he kind of made it more than known that he will not be looking forward to, or he will not be mentoring or doing any due diligence in helping Malik Willis, come along, in the NFL and as an NFL quarterback. He blatantly said it's not his job to develop him. And so that really got a lot, and I mean a lot of people talking, from sports fans to analysts to retired NFL players. It really had a lot of people really talking and chiming in. So we thought we would go ahead and give our view on the situation. And to be quite frank, for me, I'm a little torn. Part of me understands where he's coming from, because at the end of the day, you look at the situation, and just being frank, even though you said it was 84, you said, I think
it was 86.
86. Taking a quarterback, in my opinion, if you take a quarterback, obviously in the first round, you see him as being the future. But I would say nowadays, maybe even up into the third, maybe even up into the third round, if you take a quarterback, you probably have some some visions of him maybe taking over in the future, or at least competing for the starting spot at some point, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, I kind of understand Ryan Tannehill from a place of, you know, in essence, it's not my job to train this guy who you guys have ultimately brought in to replace me.
Mm-hmm.
However, I also look at, I've read comments from guys like Kurt Warner and from LaShawn McCoy, and they make a point from the standpoint of, you know, okay, if you feel like it's not your job to mentor this young kid, okay, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? In essence, it isn't. By
Mm-hmm.
by letter, by rule, by letter, it isn't. But the quarterback is the most important position on an NFL team. Your quarterback, on most teams, your quarterback is your captain, your leader. And so I think that he has to be careful at the sign that may be sending to the rest of the team. You know what I'm saying? He has to be careful that it could possibly send a sign that, you know what I'm saying, why should I care about this team? And this team doesn't care about me. They're trying to replace me, you know? Um, and I think he has to be very careful of that. I also I think for people who only seen those comments and didn't necessarily hear the entire press conference, he
Facts.
didn't.
I mean, there's
I don't think he said it with any ill will. Let me say that.
no. He said it very respectfully.
And I also think that he mentioned as well that he was having some mental issues this offseason, and he was
Right.
really kind of messed up over his performance in the playoffs last year in their playoff loss to Cincinnati. And I think you have to take that into effect because, you know, I think that he's feeling kind of insecure about his job. You know, I think that he
Well,
feels kind of bad about his performance last year. It's for years, it's always been wondered whether Mike Tannehill can actually Ryan Tannehill, excuse me,
Ryan Tannehill.
whether Ryan Tannehill can lead a team to a championship or to a Super Bowl or whatever. So I think what all things in total, I think it was a mixture of how he's feeling and his mental state at the moment, along with just him being kind of as our boy just said here, and he hit it on the nail,
Insecure.
him being a little insecure, you know. Um I honestly I wish Malik Willis the best. But as far as how I actually feel about this, I'm really, really, really torn. Like I can really see both sides of the equation.
Okay, so it's one thing. It's easy for Kurt Warner to say because Kurt Warner's role in the National Football League was way different. I mean, we obviously he just had a movie which was a pretty damn good. But Kurt Warner
I
was
gotta
a
see it. I
guy.
gotta watch it. I ain't see it. I gotta see it.
Yeah, pretty quality movie, right? Little Hollywood cheesy, but it was still good in its own right. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, looking at Kurt Warner's a guy that kind of came from the bottom and kind of built his way up. He's always been a team first guy. He was a guy that nobody expected to be a star and then ultimately became one. So
Mm-hmm.
he's always had that team first mentality. People forget between his years in St. Louis and when he ultimately became the starter in Arizona, he had been a backup. He had fell
He
out of
stopped it with the Giants. He had to stop with the
exactly.
Giants.
He had
Mm-hmm.
to stop with the Giants and wasn't expected to be the Pro Bowl starter for the Arizona Cardinals. Remember, they drafted Matt Leinart at USC. So
Mm-hmm.
it's easy for him to kind of have that type of mindset when he was just a different player with a different role.
And
Ryan Tannehill,
as he mentioned too, he was kind of in a similar situation, having to kind of mentor Eli
Mark.
Manning
Okay, I mean I can say that. I thought you were going to say Mark.
With the Giants.
I thought you was going to say I forgot the the
Oh,
quarterback that came.
Mark
Mark
Bulger with
Bulger,
the
yeah,
Rams. Yeah,
exactly, yeah. So he was in a
Same situation. Yeah.
situation like that as well. So, but once again, he's always been that type of guy. Ryan Tannehill is a guy who was a first round draft pick, a top 15 pick, if I'm not mistaken. Went to Miami, was projected to be this. You know, they were saying this guy had the highest ceiling in the draft. I think he came in with Andrew Luck and RG3. So,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously he was a, you know, fair to say he was a bust in Miami. He wasn't able to, you know, he flashed a little bit, but he was never
Yeah.
able to have any type of sustained success. So when looking at it from Ryan Tannehill's point of view, okay, you know, here I am. I've had this long road. People forget he went to Texas A&M. He wasn't a quarterback. He was a wide receiver first, then switched to quarterback.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, he was a wide
Learn
receiver.
me.
But you know, he ends up becoming a quarterback. He gets drafted in the first round. and his trip in Miami doesn't work out as planned, and then he
Mm-hmm.
goes to Tennessee and he unseats Marcus Mariota to the surprise of me as well, because I wrote him off. I thought Ryan Tannehill was done, and he kind of hit that second win and was able to breathe new life into his career. And you heard me; we've had back and forth. I've looked at. I want to say it was about the 2020. The that I looked at his statistics that year. Yeah, no, I agree, Bo. I thought he was a little overhyped at the time as well. But
Word.
2020, looking at his statistics, I remember me and you going back and forth saying, like, I really felt like Ryan Tannehill should have made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah,
And there were,
he definitely took a step forward, and it helps to have a 2,000-yard back. But
of course, yeah,
he
yeah,
definitely took some steps forward. Yeah.
right. So he is rebuilding his career. He's still working on himself. Granted, he's 34. Some people would say he's a little older, but I think he's a young 34 because obviously he spent some time, some years, some time out of the lineup, and this is him
Mm-hmm.
kind of having a resurgent career. But Ryan Tannehill is not in the mental state to play mentor, or to help a young
That's a good
guy.
point. Good point.
He's
Good
not.
point.
He's not. He's trying to he's fighting for his family. He's trying to
Mm-hmm.
rebuild his career and trying to write his story and build his legacy. And I like the comments that he said, and I thought it was so tasteful. Once again, first of all, the media is hell. Right?
Yeah.
They will give
Yeah.
you some double-edged questions that it's like you have to say the only answer. Some questions are so loaded, the only answer is no comment or next question,
Absolutely.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
this was one that was a little bit double edged. There was no way he can really answer this without it kind of affecting him or making him look. Because if he say, "Oh, I'm looking forward to mentoring him and doing this at third," and everybody's like, "Okay, well, he's on board with helping Malik Willis become his replacement." And then obviously on the
Mm-hmm.
other end, we're getting this reaction. But he said this. He said, "I don't think it's my job to mentor him." He said, "But if he learns from me along the way, then that's great too."
Yeah.
And I thought that was very tasteful. He didn't seem like a guy. First of all, let's go ahead. Let's be real. It's well known that Steve Young and Joe Montana did not get along.
And and while you were talking, I was sitting here trying to think of some similar situations. Brett Favre
And
wasn't
Aaron
really one
Rodgers.
to, and Aaron Rodgers,
Exactly. So
And
there
I
was
was
some.
thinking too, even though I think it was only for a year, and crazy, my boy here mentioned his name. Even though it was only, I believe he's only there for a year, but I don't remember Alex Smith really being, all that. I mean, he was professional about it, but I don't remember him being all that open arms with Pat Mahomes. He was professional about it.
Well, you got to remember, he started for a year after they drafted Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
And then
And then he was gone.
gone the next year, and then so he had that one full year basically where he was a starter, and I don't know. So I think he probably helped as much as he could, but I think it was well known that he was only gonna really start that 1 year, and Pat Mahomes was gonna get a shot going into year 2. But everybody's not. One thing we have to realize as football fans, everybody's not John Kitna who
Mm-hmm.
groomed Carson Palmer to be the starter. Everybody's not Kurt Warner, who we mentioned earlier. Everybody's not these guys that's or who's the guy that that interviewed for the Texans job that we just
Oh,
look, there it goes again, right?
McCown,
Yeah,
Josh
Josh
McCown.
McCown. Everybody's not Josh McCown,
Yeah.
right? So we have to get out of this mindset. Some of these guys, they still envision themselves being starters in this league, and some of them still can. And I think Ryan Tannehill, I don't want to say his best days are ahead of him, but he still has some damn good football left in him. I don't think he'll ever be a star, but he can be a guy that he mentioned Alex Smith. I think Ryan Tannehill can be an Alex Smith. I think he can.
I think that's a very fair comparison.
Very fair comparison, right? Athletic, can make all the necessary throws. And Ryan Tannehill, you get him in a groove, he throwing that bitch. Excuse my language, right?
And I know, and at the two situations we mentioned with Montana and Young, and then with Favre and Rodgers, they didn't necessarily need the mentorship because both of those guys went on to become, all-time great quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? So 100%. They didn't necessarily need the mentorship, I also think, and I have to bring this up, I also think that in a lot of people's eyes, and it sucks to have to say this, but I think in a lot of people's eyes, there may be a bit of a racial element to it.
I don't like that with this.
I don't like that either. But I mean, I have to bring it up because I think that's the case in a lot of people's eyes, and I say that because I think okay, we can agree on this. I think most of the time when we have a black quarterback who's a good quarterback prospect coming out of the draft, we hear the terms, athlete or athletic, you know what I'm saying? Or we hear you very rarely do you hear about that said quarterback's basketball, football IQ or his acumen or whatever. You hear a lot of athletic terms and you hear a lot about what he can do, his mobility and what he can do with his feet. And looking at Malik Willis, I do think that he has a really good arm, and I think that he can definitely develop into just as good of a passer than an athlete or a mobile quarterback. You know what I'm saying? But I think the reason I say the racial element is because on the flip side, most of the time when you think of our white, counterparts, I think a lot of times they're considered for their football IQ, their acumen, their accuracy, their throwing arm or whatever. And so I think because of those kind of stereotypes, I think the racial element comes into play because I think in some people's eyes, they look at it like, okay, like, bro, like I think that's in some people's eyes, that's kind of the stigma that's already been put on Malik Willis. And they look at it like, bro, like, you know that's kind of the stigma that's put on him. You're pretty much a pure pocket quarterback. Do you understand the good you can do for this kid? You know what I'm saying? But why wouldn't you, and once again, I don't think of it that way. Right. I think that the racial element plays a part in it as well.
And I've heard rumblings of that. And I mean, while I get it, I never felt that he said Joe Flacco felt away. Of course he did. He didn't think, because let's be honest, nobody.
He won a Super Bowl with them.
Nobody.
In his mind, he's like, what?
Right. So, but when it comes to Ryan Tannehill, I guess I can understand how people could conjure that up and say, okay, it has some racial undertones or connotations or whatever. But the truth is, man. Well, first of all, I'll say this about Malik Willis. He's definitely an athletic first quarterback. But I agree with what you're saying about the stigma, because it gets put on guys who, in my opinion, have displayed that high acumen and that high IQ, as i.e. Deshaun Watson coming out of Clemson, who was special coming out of Clemson, and people couldn't see it. Or you look at a freaking Russell Wilson, who fell all the way to the freaking third round, and people don't talk about his football acumen. He came into the league ready to be a starter and lead a team and win playoff games. So I agree with what you're saying. With Malik Willis, I don't think this is that. This is a young kid. He said our 6'4", 6'5" PO not playing QB, but other sports. Prototypical QB has always been tall with a big arm. I concur, but
there may be some. I give Bo that. There may be some truth to that.
Now, in years past, now the league is getting. I will say this: the league now, if there was ever a time that you wanted to be a short quarterback and be seen as a top prospect, now is the time. And I think Drew Brees has broke that. Obviously, we had a Doug Flutie in the past, and now we got our Kyler Murrays. And I mean, quarterback Bryce Young might go number 1 overall, and he's 6 foot even, and might be shorter than that. Who knows? So obviously,
Tua, I don't think Tua's that tall either.
Tua's about 6 foot and a half.
Russell Wilson's not that tall.
5'10", 5'11". Yes, yeah, guys are short. So it's the stigma's changed a little bit, but I don't think this is that with Malik Willis. I think he's a kid that definitely is more of an athlete than he is a pocket passer. Now, you said this about Ryan Tannehill. I will have to. Ryan Tannehill is athletic. He will run that ball. I don't think he's like this stick in the mud.
But I don't think when you think of him, I don't think that's what you see, or what you don't think. You don't think athletic when you think of Ryan Tannehill. I think you think more of his arm.
I mean, true, because he's a quarterback, but I mean, like I said, I had to remind people he was a wide receiver first at Texas A&M. So it's not like this guy is Joe Flacco out there and he's just standing. But I see what you in comparison to maybe a Malik Willis or other athletic quarterbacks. But once again, I think it's unfortunate the way that the media was able to kind of twist this thing and make it seem like he wasn't a team first guy. Ryan Tannehill has been a revelation for that franchise.
Yeah. And he
I
wasn't
mean,
malicious at all. If
at
for
all.
those who just read the comments and didn't actually see the press conference, he wasn't being malicious or
No,
vindictive at all. You know what I'm saying?
no.
He spoke he spoke his truth, you know. And once again, you know, for a guy who at seeing for Ryan Tannehill, him seeing his performance in the playoffs last year and then seeing them go get a guy who I'm sure they may not say it publicly, but I'm sure the franchise ultimately would like to see, you know, how he develops and if he could possibly be their quarterback of the future. I mean, I think it would make any quarterback feel some type of way.
True. So, I mean, we'll see how it shakes out. I've said this before. I said this last episode. I think it's a perfect situation for both parties. Um, Tennessee gets to groom another quarterback that could potentially be better moving forward, and and Malik Willis goes to a team with a great foundation where he can
Mm-hmm.
sit back and watch a consummate pro. I think Ryan Tannehill is a consummate pro.
Yeah.
And as much as people want to dislike him or say that he's boo boo or he's this and the third, hey, look, he's probably the second best quarterback y'all done had since Steve. He's probably the second best quarterback that the Titans have had since Steve McNair.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's light years better than Vince Young. I mean, unless you want to throw out a Kerry Collins, right? He's better than Vince Young. He's
I
better than
mean,
Vince Young.
he
He's better
is,
than
but
Vince Young. Yeah, he's better.
that's not the poo on Vince
No,
Young.
it's not the pull on
Granted,
Vince
I'm a Vince
Young
Young. I was a Vince Young fan. You know, I love
Texas,
Vince Young. I was a Vince Young fan.
right?
You know what I'm saying?
So
But
yeah. So let's give him a little flack. Let's see how it shakes out. Obviously, the team's going through a lot of changes. Lost AJ Brown and had to draft a new receiver, and we'll see if Derrick Henry can come back healthy. But definitely,
you talking about what about Kerry Collins?
I mean, hey, Kerry Collins had a Pro Bowl year in Tennessee. People forget
he
about
got
that.
the if I'm not mistaken, and then he got the Giants to the Super Bowl.
He did in 2000, and they got the brakes beat off of him by Baltimore.
By Baltimore, yeah.
By Baltimore, they got the brakes beat off him. People forget about that. Yeah. So, So unfortunate. We'll see what happens moving forward. I'm excited for both Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis.
Yeah.
And going forward.
And like Bo said, hopefully Malik Willis is able to get the mentorship that he needs, whether it is from Ryan Tannehill, physically, or from him just visually seeing Ryan Tannehill and how he goes about things, or anyone else that's willing to reach out and help him. You know what I'm saying? Because I do like him, and I'm interested to see what the future holds for him.
He's a good kid. I think he'll figure it out.
He is, man. I think Tennessee might have some other issues like their receiving core, But anywho,
right.
But anywho, moving on. As you mentioned earlier, CBS Sports, one of their columnists, and I'm going to let me see. I'm gonna screw his name up here.
Jason Lockenfora.
Jason Lockenfora.
Lockenfora.
Yeah, Jason Lockenfora, CBS Sports.
Look, you gotta watch. You had to have watched a lot of NFL Network to get that name right. I'd have watched a lot of NFL Network in my days.
Word. Mm-hmm. He released his 2022 NFL quarterback tiers, and so we thought we would just take a moment and discuss them and say where we maybe agree and disagree. He kind of broke it down a little differently. There are, what were there, 7 tiers?
Mm-hmm.
There are 7 tiers. And then I guess, okay, how about this? We'll just start with tier 1 for right now. We'll get to all 7. We'll start with tier 1 for right now. Okay, tier 1 are his bona fide franchise quarterbacks. All right, bona fide franchise quarterbacks. And his guys for this upcoming season, 2022. Bona fide franchise quarterbacks. He has Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and Matt Stafford. I'm gonna go to tier 2, and I'm gonna say, because he only has a couple. He only has a couple names in tier 2. I'm gonna go to tier 2 real quickly. Tier 2, which would be his top pros or proven winners for this upcoming season. He only has 2 guys in his category. One would be Matt Ryan, and the other would be Deshaun Watson.
Disrespectful.
Okay. In what manner? Go ahead. Uh-oh.
So, how do you want to do this? Do you want to go through another tier and then recap? Because I'm gonna tell you guys
I had to
this.
put it up there. Okay, we can do that though. You want to go through another tier and then we
go through another tier and then we'll recap it.
Okay.
And then we'll wrap up the last 4.
Okay. So tier 3, which was his rising stars, he had nobody in that category this season. And then I'm gonna go to tier 4, which was the quarterbacks that you can win with. Okay, quarterbacks you can win with. And in that section, we got Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, the aforementioned Ryan Tannehill, Dak Prescott.
Fucking insult.
I don't think they heard me. Let me say it again. Dak Dakota Rain Prescott.
Insult.
Okay. Kyler Murray, Jameis Winston, Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones, and Tua Tagovailoa. All right.
So I'll jump out by saying any tier with Dak Prescott in the same tier as a Jameis Winston, a Jalen Hurts, a Tua Tagovailoa, and God forbid after that playoff performance of Kyler Murray is disrespectful. And honestly, I feel the same way about Derek Carr. I think that you have to put Dak Prescott and Derek Carr both in proven winners because, I mean, I think they've both shown that they can win games and do more with less. But I don't agree. I don't see how you could put a Deshaun Watson who hasn't played in a year, and last year he played, he went 4-12, and only has one playoff win to his name. How you could put him in the proven winners and not put Dak Prescott there. I don't see it. It doesn't make sense to me. Maybe somebody can make it compute to me, but I think that's a tad, and I'm not trying to be a homer here. I just think it's a tad bit disrespectful, and people look for any reason to throw Dak Prescott further down the quarterback troll. So it's a little bit disrespectful. And I like what Derek Carr did last year. He did what Deshaun Watson couldn't do in Houston. He won with a bad team, and his coach got fired, and injuries everywhere. Cats was getting arrested, released, everything, and he made it to the playoffs. But that's my feelings on that. When it comes to the top tier.
Wait. So hold on.
Go ahead.
Before we go ahead on that, okay. I think that when you say that between Derek Carr and Deshaun Watson, I think that, and granted, you know what I'm saying, huge shout out to, we've discussed before what Derek Carr did, you know, in Oakland last year, nothing short of amazing. But I think with Deshaun Watson in that 4-12 season, he still, if I'm not mistaken, he still led the league in passing yards. Like it was no fault of his.
No.
Well, he balled out. I think as a whole, that organization was just, a lot going on with the organization. That was just really toxic.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Are we going to ask like the Raiders or the class of the NFL when it comes to organizational?
Not at all.
That's a very dysfunctional. That's a very dysfunctional organization. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to make it seem like Derek Carr just had so many more weapons because by the end of the year, all he had was Hunter Renfrow, and that was it. And an up and down Brian Edwards, who I'm still waiting to break out.
So I'll say this.
How's he not a proven winner?
I'll give the argument. So I'm guessing. Well, obviously, you think that Dak Prescott should be
he's proven
above Watson.
No, I think you can put Deshaun Watson in that
or
tier.
You saying,
but Dak Prescott
put Dak Prescott
and Derek Carr should be in that tier. Last year, Dak Prescott was in that tier. I don't think he's done anything to be taken out of that tier. Did he have some down? Did he have some down performances, some down games? Sure, but I mean, the worst quarterback performance last year in the regular season was Josh Allen. He probably had the worst game of his career against Jacksonville, and they lost. Right in the playoffs, the worst performance, probably the worst quarterback playoff performance in the net has missed playoff 50% of the season. He starts QB. What are you talking about? But guess what? Guess what, Bo? He has 0 losing seasons. He's never started 16 games and had a losing season. Book that. Either way, but when it comes to I lost my train of thought. We're over.
You were just saying that Dak belongs in their tier 2 of top pros and proven winners.
Well, my thing is what has he done to really knock him out? He played a San Francisco 49ers team that nobody wanted to play, right? They lost, right? They lost in close fashion. And that same 49ers team goes and beats the number one seed in the NFC, who was Green Bay, beats them in their house, and then they lose to the Super Bowl champions. So it's not like it's not like you got surprised and you got smacked around by a bum. You lost to a team that, in all honesty, probably could have went probably should have went to the Super Bowl if Jaquasi Tart catches that interception. So I don't know if I don't feel like he's done anything to get knocked down to tier 4. I think that. But once again, it's Dallas syndrome. I think I could go out and throw a 70-yard pass and it'll be like, Ken is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott because it's Dallas syndrome.
I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this. First of all, I guess for me, the way that he has these quarterbacks in these tiers is a little I don't want to. I guess the word I'm gonna say confusing. I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. Like, okay, do I think I'm gonna just say it blatantly? Do I think when all things in total, both guys healthy? Do I think Dak is better than Dak? Do I think Dak is better than Deshaun Watson? No. Top pros, proven winners. Is he a proven winner?
He's a proven winner. He's never had a losing season.
So he and Deshaun Watson both have one
playoff win.
I mean, what did they both have? 2 or 3? No, I'm really trying to think.
I know you're working through it.
Playoff appearances.
Somewhere in there. Very similar.
Okay, so let's look at the teams. No, I'm trying to see. Let's look at the teams here.
Wait, how about this? Let's look at the coaches first, because let's not forget Bill O'Brien has been in the playoffs before Deshaun Watson ever got there.
I mean, we're not saying Bill O'Brien.
He's a better coach than Jason Garrett.
I mean, yeah, but that's not saying much, you know. Okay, let's look at these teams. I mean, I think it's fair to say Dak has had the better teams. The more talented teams.
This year, I'll concede that. With this team that they just
past.
He's had some worse defenses. 2020, where he got hurt, that was they were on pace to be the worst defense, one of, if not the worst defense in NFL history. I think through week 11 they were second worst since the merger. They had allowed the second most rushing yards since the merger. They were that bad.
So you know what I think? This is what I think. I think that, don't get me wrong, I think Dak is a really, really, really good quarterback. I think that you can win consistently, and I think you can win a Super Bowl with Dak. Mm-hmm. I think that what hurts Dak a lot of times in these arguments and what hurts the team is that, okay, granted, you know, they do win the division. You know, I think they won the division back-to-back years now, right? They won this year.
No, they lost. Remember, Dak Prescott got hurt in 2020, and
right. I'm sorry.
Washington
won a division last year. Okay,
right. And we're projected to win it again this year.
The year before they won. So long as Dak is healthy,
the year before that, Philly won. Remember, Philly won.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Philly edged Dallas out. And that's where they beat us week 16.
So now you're really gonna make my point. I think the issue here is that they're in what is kind of widely regarded as probably the weakest division in the NFL. And as their starting quarterback, they can't even consistently win that division. And they've been loaded with talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
So I'm gonna tell you why that's a loaded argument, because the truth is people were still trying to say NFC least. I watch ESPN and people are still saying NFC least. And in December last year, there were 3 NFC East teams that were in contention to be in the playoffs. And we watched Washington beat the brakes off of Tampa Bay. Smack them around. My thing is
even with that being said, if even at that point, if you would have named your top 4 or 5 teams in the NFC outside of Dallas because of their talent, would you have named a Philly or a Washington? No, nobody regarded any of those teams as top 5. But people regarded Dallas's team as a top five in the league, talent-worthy team. Like, they've had top 5 talent, top to bottom.
And here's
I
the
mean,
thing.
I think you have to admit this. Looking at their roster, and
No,
granted,
it was
you can
the
say Jason Garrett has something to do with it, but looking at their roster over the past few years, they've underachieved.
No, I concur. I'm not one of those people that's delusional or anything. I'm very honest about where they've been. I think 2019 and 20 and this year was the 2 years they really were loaded and had a realistic chance. Obviously, Jason Garrett got fired because he couldn't even get them to the playoffs. With this year, I really felt like Mike McCarthy was going to get fired because you probably had as complete a team as possible, but they were undisciplined and they led the NFL in penalties. So once again, Dallas. This is not me arguing about because Dallas is a very dysfunctional organization too. They're right on par with the Raiders, and honestly, I wouldn't say that they're so much better than the Houston Texans organization. They just have managed to acquire more talent and just win just a few more games. But when we're looking at the quarterback position at just individual accolades and what they've done, you can't say that Deshaun Watson has done much more than Dak Prescott has. You could say that he's talented and he's probably made a 2 or 3 more eye-popping plays, but he has one playoff win to his name. And I'm gonna tell you guys this: I don't care if I was out there playing wide receiver for them. If Dak Prescott turned in a 4-12 season, he would be crucified. He would be called the worst quarterback to ever play in the National Football League. As a matter of fact, in 2018,
I think you have to say that because I still think the NFC least is the worst division in football, and they have been the most talented team.
Now, definitely not last year. They put 2 playoff teams in, so we can't say a division.
What division is worse than theirs?
Honestly, the NFC South is worse than the NFC East. Yes, they've been worse probably the last 2 years. And here's the funny part.
With Tampa Bay,
yes.
Last year was the first year New Orleans didn't make the playoffs.
Watch this. Here's the funny part. New Orleans didn't make the playoffs, and they still swept Tampa Bay. And
we know that matchup is going to be, you know what I'm saying?
Everyone else was terrible in that division.
I mean, we can bring up bad losses against everybody. If didn't they lose to the Jets? Didn't Dallas lose to the Jets
this year? No.
2019. No, last year they lost. Who did they lose to last year? It was a terrible loss. It wasn't. You sure it wasn't the Jets?
It was 2019. They lost to the Jets. Trust me, I remember these things. But I say all that to say, judging Dak Prescott's performance individually, he has gotten better every single year, and they haven't had a losing season. So I don't like first of all, more so than the tier. There's no way in good God's name that Dak Prescott is in the same tier as Jameis Winston.
Okay, I can give you that.
Tua Tagovailoa.
He's definitely better than Tua. Definitely better.
He's eons better. Are we saying that Mac Jones and Jalen Hurts are in the same class as Dak Prescott? I mean, Dak Prescott threw 37 touchdowns and 10 interceptions last year.
But see, that's why I said it's confusing the way he did it because he's talking like it's not like, okay, I think this quarterback is better or whatever. It's just like I think they're in the same class as far as you can possibly win with them. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I say it's confusing the way he put this together.
Look, Bo trying to bait me, but I'm gonna tell you this: you're talking about 8-8 is nothing, but guess what? 8-8 is his worst record. And if you want to talk about the NFCs, guess what? Even when the NFCs was good, nobody repeated. If you look at the late 2010s, nobody repeated. One year is Philly, next year is New York, next year is Dallas. It was like that. But
that's the thing. When you think that Dallas has been the most talented team in that division for a few years now,
I mean,
they've been the most talented team in that division.
I think a lot of it is hype because the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles roster was absolutely freaking loaded. And was that the season? No, that's the season after they won the Super Bowl. No, that's the season they did win the Super Bowl.
They won the Super Bowl. Okay.
That's the season they won the Super Bowl without their starting quarterback. And that was the year that and it's funny, I argue with Philly fans all the time, especially Carson Wentz fans. And they tell me how Dak Prescott had a great offensive line. I said, why? They said, well, he has three Pro Bowlers. I said, okay, well, let's look at Philly's offensive line. How many Pro Bowlers do they have? We have 4. And then they get mad and they shut up, right? So it's not like – I think it gets a little bit overhyped. But, Bo, we're talking about Deshaun Watson once again. one playoff win, a 4-12 season, and and we're not gonna say he didn't have talent
He
because
said he was saying Dak has to be over Watson. He was saying Dak to be ahead of Watson.
Okay, all right. Good. As long as we're saying that, but not to get too much on Dak Prescott. I think we got to give a little bit of love to Derek Carr and what he's done for the Raiders organization. He's finally getting his due diligence as far as payment. He's the best, and I'm gonna stand on this. People are gonna fight me. People are gonna hate me. He's the best quarterback to ever play for the Raiders organization. He's the best quarterback to ever play for that franchise. He's better than Ken Stabler. He's better than Rich Gannon. He's consistent. He shows up week in and week out, and he's played and he's lost with some bad rosters. But if you give him what he needs, this is going to be the most talent Derek Carr's ever had in his career. You got Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, who's rising as one of the top slot weapons in the National Football League, and Devontae
so you were saying
Adams.
He should be in that tier 2.
Oh, 100%.
Proven winners.
Okay. Last year, what we saw him do last year, I don't know many quarterbacks that can win in that type of situation. And people want to look at his statistics, and people are not realizing that his leadership ability and his ability to galvanize other guys. Well, you know what? I think he's always been that guy. But you saw his ability to galvanize his team and make the playoffs with all the adversity that they went through. I think he needs to be a proven winner. So that's my disagreement on that. Now, since Bo is on here, I'll say this: tier 1. I'll be honest.
Uh-oh.
Out of respect,
come on.
Out of respect for Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson. Oh my gosh. I'll name two names that don't deserve in my opinion, do not need to be in that tier.
On the tier 1?
In the tier 1.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, let me stop. I'll name 3.
Okay.
I don't think Justin Herbert belongs in bona fide franchise QB because in 2 years he hasn't been able to make the playoffs.
But I think I think his talent, I think is there.
No,
you see special there.
No.
You're not moving off of him.
But no, here's the thing: you're not moving off of him. He's a special talent, but can he lead men? And that's what I haven't seen from him yet. Because I'm gonna tell you this: with his talent level, if he can lead men, they're in the playoffs. But I think the verdict's still out.
The verdict's out because I think these past couple of years, their defense have been atrocious. They had the last ranked run defense in the league last year. They made a few moves this year, so I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with them this year in a loaded division.
True, and this gonna say a lot about them. But remember, they lost some games that was kind of like head scratchers. Like, damn, you lost to the Houston Texans, and they didn't just lose; they kind of got smacked around. So, yeah, I would like to take.
Okay,
all right.
He said, "Wait, he would take his boy Lamar."
I don't think Lamar's a tier.
I don't think. I feel you. I'm saying Bo saying he would take Lamar off of tier 1 because
I'm gonna tell you this.
He's a Baltimore. For everybody that don't know our boy Bo, man,
he's the biggest Baltimore
here. He's probably the biggest Baltimore Raven fan you'll ever know, and Dallas Maverick fan you'll ever know.
I'm gonna tell you this: Bo has really grown. He's really matured as a football fan. And Herbert. Okay, cool. We're in the same. You said Josh Allen. Josh Allen is in that tier.
He's
Josh. Hey, Bo. This is one thing we'll disagree. Josh Allen is, and as of right now, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. He's not in that tier. He's not up there with them. What we've seen in that divisional round, he's not there yet. I'm sorry. I love his ability. The potential is there. But they're operating on another plane than Lamar Jackson is currently operating on. But I would take Justin Herbert. I would take Justin Herbert off. I would take Matthew Stafford off, and I would take Lamar Jackson off.
Okay, so question then: if you take Herbert off, right? Okay. You can't put him in tier 2 because you just said he hasn't won anything, so he couldn't be an improving winners. So would he still?
I think he's a tier 3.
Be tier 3?
I think he's tier 3.
So he still be a rising star.
I think you put him in tier 3. I think people get enamored by his talent, rightfully so. He's a physical freak and he can do things other quarterbacks can't do. But I mean, 2 years, you're this phenomenally talented quarterback. We're not talking about you losing round 1. We're talking about you not even making the playoffs. Period. And you're losing to bad teams down the stretch. So yeah, he's a tier 3 guy. I think Matthew Stafford is a tier 2, and Lamar Jackson's a tier 2.
So who are your tier 1 guys?
Bonafide?
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson. They're in a class. You know what? Oh, and Joe
Okay,
Burrow.
can you? I was just gonna say.
And Joe Burrow.
Okay,
And Joe Burrow.
okay.
And Joe Burrow. He's a bona
All
fide
right.
friend. Yeah.
So then in that tier 2, I'm guessing you would put Stafford in that tier 2.
I'll
You
give him
bring
that.
Stafford down to tier
I'll
2.
give him the tier 2. Proven winner.
Okay.
I just out of love, and I
You
give
said
Lamar
Herbert's
Jackson.
tier 3, and you said
Herbert's
Lamar
tier 3.
Jackson would be tier 2.
Lamar Jackson would be tier 2. Because right now he's still. I mean, let's be honest. Here's the thing: we're throwing guys in these tiers, but we're not even looking at the body of work and what they've done. The truth is that Lamar Jackson has one playoff win to his name. Deshaun Watson has one playoff win to his name. So how can you put Deshaun Watson in tier 2 and put Lamar Jackson in tier 1 when we can argue that, in all honesty, Allen going one round further? What are you talking about? Choke like Lamar with the number 1 defense? What are you talking about, Bo? But he's ahead of Lamar.
Listen.
Bo is trying to know.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
I'm convinced.
Josh Allen had this. The Kansas City Chiefs were beat. They were beat. Josh Allen couldn't do any more.
Hey, wait, and I'm gonna say this, and this is gonna be tough for Bo to swallow. Lamar Jackson has never in his career had a performance like Josh Allen had in that playoff game.
Absolutely not.
Ever.
Definitely not in the playoffs.
Not in
the playoffs.
Yeah. You know. So I know.
They should have been in the AFC Championship game. You know, we could argue about what they did defensively. 13. He led them down the field for game-winning drives multiple times under that pressure in that stadium.
I'll be honest. He made me a believer.
Oh, and I was never. I don't even want to show you what he just said.
Go ahead and pull it out. He should have scored more. I'm done. No, he's trolling. Hey, Swan, he's trolling. Don't listen to Bo, man. Bo is acting.
Shout out to Bo, man.
Bo just want to get us fired up on this show, and yeah, we're not gonna give him the satisfaction.
Shout out to Bo, man. We love you, bro.
But let's wrap up. Let's wrap up the rest. So obviously we went through tier 4. Tier 5.
Real quick. I'm sorry, we skipped one name though. Matt Ryan was in there tier 2. Do you keep him there?
Yes, because he's had the playoff success, and I guess you can go based off of he just needed a better environment. Now he's in a better environment in Indy. Probably has the best supporting cast he's ever had, the best defense he's ever had, because we know Atlanta can't play defense for shit.
Yeah.
So he's probably
I really think they might be my sleeper in the AFC, man. I really think
100%. They got the defense. They got the running game to swing with the best of them. And hell, if they would just let me be right and sign Julio Jones and let him play some slot. If you let Julio Jones do what wide receiver to play for Arizona, Larry
Fitzgerald.
If you let Julio do what Larry Fitzgerald did in his latter years in Arizona, where he moved to the slot and he really deferred to other guys and he became more of a safety blanket, but it extended his career. Because remember, he had 1 or 2 Pro Bowl seasons as a slot. I think that would extend his career, and I think you get the best out of him. You got Michael Pittman Jr.
I was just going to say, I think he'd be great for Michael Pittman Jr.
Oh, yeah. And then remember, they drafted that kid, Alec Pierce, who I like, out of Cincinnati.
From Cincinnati.
Exactly. So I would love that. But to get back on Matt Ryan quarterbacks, he's in a great position. So I think that's why you have to leave him there, and you can't say that he hasn't won. He just was in a bad situation with a bad roster, bad coach, but now he's going to obviously a contender in the Indianapolis Colts. But obviously we got tier 5, tier 6, and tier 7. Tier 5, guys, veterans, and placeholders is Zilch. Last year was Garoppolo, Goff, Teddy Bridgewater. Tier 6 is good luck. Goff, Wentz, Drew Lock, Jones, Justin Fields. Daniel Jones, Justin Fields, Marcus Mariota, Sam Darnold, Mitch Trubisky. I don't think Jared Goff belongs in that. I think you put him in tier 5, based off of what you've seen from him last year. And then maybe you could put Wentz in tier 5 too. You know, I'm not a big Wentz fan.
I don't know, man. With Wentz play, I mean,
yeah, you're right. Okay, all right. Maybe we can leave it.
And for a while, man, I was on that Carson Wentz bandwagon, but
Oh, I know you was.
Whew, I don't know,
Because
bro.
we
I
didn't
don't
we didn't
know.
had some very
I
disrespectful
can I can I can agree with you on Jared Goff.
Jared
I
Goff.
think Jared Goff gets a lot of slack, man. I think he's a solid starting quarterback. I think he gets a lot of slack. You know, I mean, I guess in essence, the Rams were proven right. They moved on to Matt Stafford. You know, immediately get a Super Bowl ring. But I mean, Jared Goff isn't a terrible quarterback. You know what I'm saying? People talk about him like he's just poo, and he's not, man. And I know that record won't say it, but that Detroit team fought. They
No,
were
they
in a
did.
lot of games. They played a lot of guys. You know, it took a 67-yard field goal for Baltimore to get out of there with a win.
Yeah, no, they were a scrappy team. They took on the mentality of Dan Campbell, just fighting, and you know they're gonna fight tooth and nail. They were a perfect fit. I think that they're starting to become the city that Detroit deserves.
Yeah.
Right.
The team they deserve. Yeah. All
So
right. So you
Jared
put
Goff
Jared Goff in tier 5.
at least
And then
tier
who do they
5.
have? So
Right,
where
and
did
then
they? Hold on, I missed some. Where did they have? They had Winston in tier. So, the guys you can win with. Do you agree with all the guys you can win with? Obviously, you said Carr should be up. They got Cousins there, Tannehill there. You
oh yeah,
obviously you think Prescott should move up.
no, I think Jameis Winston is a tier 5. I think
Winston's a tier 5. Okay.
I think. See, Jalen Hurts is kind of.
I think the verdict's still out on him.
Verdict's still out, so I think he can easily be tier 4 or tier 5.
Okay.
Mac Jones deserves to be in tier 4, and Tua in my opinion, Tua is a tier 6.
That's how you feel about Tua, but no, I feel you though. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they had a 10-win season, but they haven't made the playoffs yet. He's had a 10-win season, but they haven't made the playoffs yet. So but I think this is a make or break season for Tua.
Easy.
I mean,
first of all, they were just talking about
they put a track team around him. You know,
they were literally just talking about signing Tom Brady. And first of all, that was real. Where there's smoke, there's fire. They were really trying to get Tom Brady. That wasn't like
I'm sure
a made up. Yeah, that wasn't a made up rumor. He was really.
And then even when Brian Flores was there, he wanted Deshaun Watson. So
Brian Flores wanted to draft Justin Herbert over Tua Tagovailoa.
So I mean, once again, where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, that has to kind of say something about Tua and his progression. You know, so this is going to be a big year for him.
Right. So, yeah. So Jameis Winston, tier 5. Jalen Hurts, impressive year last year, but I still think he's a tier 5. Mac Jones, I think you leave him here, and Tua, I think Tua is a tier 6. So
tier 6. Is Tua a 6 or a tier 7? Or maybe the jury. I say he's a tier 7. I say maybe the jury's still out. I think this season. I think gonna kind of.
I think we can.
You know what? Crazy enough, I would put Jalen Hurts in tier 7. I think the jury's still out on him as well.
True. I can see that. I think people are getting a little hyped up on the the team that they put together.
The moves that they made. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So people are getting a little gassed up. And then tier 7 obviously is Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, Davis Mills. Obviously the quarterbacks from last year. Where the hell do they have? Oh, they got Justin Fields over these guys.
Yeah, I I love my Bears, but I couldn't. I have to have them on the jury still out as well.
Yeah,
I think by definition, this category, this tier 7, the jury is still out. By definition, is for Trey Lance, because Trey Lance, if Trey Lance if he can come out and be good this year, we could be looking at a possible Super Bowl team with the Niners. If they can keep Debo as well, if they can figure something out with Debo as well.
Well, I tell people, Jimmy Garoppolo comes back, he's gonna have to beat Jimmy Garoppolo out for that job. Like,
I agree, but I think this season though. Okay, I think this though. I think this season, okay, they might come in and say it's a quarterback competition, but I think this season it's Trey Lance's job to lose.
I agree. San Francisco's won a lot of games with Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback. And as a matter of fact,
say what you want about him. He's a winning quarterback.
He's a winning quarterback. He's the guys love him.
Yeah,
He's I made this comparison before. He is to San Francisco what Nick Foles
Nick
is to Philly.
Foles. Mm-hmm.
Is to Philly. And he's had a little bit, yeah. So he's probably had a little bit more regular season success than Nick Foles has had. But some guys, it's not about them being special. You put them in a locker room, guys fall in love with them. They'll run through a wall with them. They understand that they have limitations, but they still love them to death. And that's Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. So once again, I think most of where the hell did they put Jimmy Garoppolo at though?
I don't know. I think
took him off the
in
list
their minds,
he's not a starter.
I think they assume that Trey Lance is going to be their starter, so they don't necessarily have him on the list.
Right. Well, travesty. Don't be surprised if Jim Garoppolo starts if he stays in San Francisco, because now the quarterback market is all but dried up. So we'll see what happens. But that is it for our quarterback tiers 1 through 7. Obviously, it got a little controversial. So we went a little longer than what we expected. I thought it was going to be quick. I thought
hey man, that's a great banter, man. That's all right, bro. We here for it, bro. This is what we do.
Look, I thought Swan was going to agree with me on everything. We would have went 15 minutes.
Hey man, look, this is what we do, man. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. You know, I was out and I was kind of, I was talking to some friends and I was advertising about, you know what I'm saying, the podcast and everything. And I was just telling them to tune in. But what I told them, crazy enough, and I'm gonna tell everybody else out here in the world, man, crazy enough. If you guys could hear the conversations that me and this guy have off the show, offline, like if you can hear the debates that we have offline, it would be some phenomenal content, man. Like we do go at it. We don't always agree. I know we seem real diplomatic here, but we don't always agree. Trust and believe. And it's been this way for some years now, man. But this one dude, man, I love him to death.
Love you too, man. So how about this? So we then got through some football. We did NFL quarterback tiers. We talked about the Ryan Tannehill comments. Now we got to talk about the NBA. We got obviously the semifinals. It's heating up. This is probably the most competitive round 2 semifinals we've seen in a good while. What series do you want to cover first? And let's hear your thoughts.
Well, since they're playing right now, they're playing game 4 right now. We'll go with Milwaukee and Boston. Milwaukee's up 80-73 right now. They're about to start the fourth quarter. But Milwaukee's leading the series 2-1. This series, I watched game 3 the other day.
Okay.
This series is probably one of the most physical series that I've seen in a long time. Like, these guys are up in each other's grills. They're contesting everything. Like, if anyone wants to know what NBA playoff basketball is, watch this series. Like, they're physical. And I think that these are the 2 most evenly matched teams in the playoffs.
I was just saying. I just said that earlier. They match up so well with each other.
They do, man. And I do wonder how this series would look if Chris Middleton was healthy and Milwaukee had that extra guy, that extra scorer that they can depend on. But yeah, this is a really, really, really physical series. The game the other night, I believe, Milwaukee won. I think it was 104 to 101 or whatever.
It was close because Boston was up now.
Yeah, it was 103-101. Excuse me. Milwaukee won 103-101, and for a series where, like I said, it's been really physical. There's been a lot of talk, especially after game 3. There's been a lot of talk about the refs. There's been a lot of talk about the refereeing during this entire playoffs in every series. You know what I'm saying? There's been some gripes with the refereeing, and the referees haven't been at their best in this playoffs. I will say that. Mm-hmm. But it was a little controversy at the end of the game last week because the Celtics ran a play. Marcus Smart came off a little screen, went up for a shot, and it looked like he got into a shooting motion when he got fouled, which would have on a 3, which would have gave him an opportunity at 3 free throws. But they called it on the ground. So he only shot 2 free throws, made the first, missed the second, and Al Horford got a tip in, but it was after the buzzer. Said all that to say, man, once again, an extremely, extremely physical series. 2 teams, the 2 most evenly matched teams in the playoffs. Last game, and we have been talking and raving about Jason Tatum, his development, way that he's been playing. Game 3, he was 4 for 19, 0 for 6 from 3, 10 points.
Wesley Matthews was in his shit.
He was, man. He was, man. And it's and it's just crazy, man. These veterans, man. I remember a time when Wesley Matthews was a bona fide 3-and-D guy. Like I remember when he could get you, 15, 16, 17 points a game. He would hit 2 or 3 threes a game, and then he would he go on the other end and defend one of the other teams, better players or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, just to see him kind of, and he didn't. I think he only had 3 points for the game, but just to see the job that he only had 3 points for the game, but just to see the job that he did on Jason Tatum and the physicality that he exhibited there, man, it was really, really, really big for them, man.
And one thing I want to remind people of is that first of all, star players like a Jason Tatum, they're gonna have a bad day at the office like this, where you have a guy that's less than likely that you wouldn't have thought to shut them down. I mean, what was it about some years ago? We saw Steph Curry, we saw Matthew Dellavedova in his shit, right?
Yeah,
Right.
For two or 3 games in the finals.
Yeah, Matthew
Dellavedova
Dellavedova
like
was
he was slowing them down. Yeah,
on his ass, right? We've seen Kobe Bryant get slowed down by Cephalosha that played for OKC back in the day. I've seen him give Kobe Bryant some.
Now, you be careful now. Don't you go speaking this blasphemy about the great Kobe Bryant. But no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but you
he gave him a few problems, so he did.
Well, a few problems. So I mean, don't be surprised if Jason Tatum. I mean, what's he looking at now? I'm not watching the game. I'm not tracking it. So what's he at point wise?
I have to look it up. I know Boston just tied the game. Al Horford just got an and one, so they just tied the game. It's in the fourth quarter. Still, there's about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, so still a lot of time left.
And the Celtics need this game.
They do. They're down 2-1. Game 4 is there in Milwaukee. So they definitely need this game. I don't think they don't want to go down 3-1 because I don't think they can beat this Milwaukee team 3 games in a row. So this is a must win for Boston.
And they're doing this without Robert Williams.
Yeah, Robert Williams isn't playing tonight. The knee was acting up again. The same knee he just had a little surgery on. They said it was a little sore. They don't think it's too serious, but it's expected soreness, but he's not playing in their game tonight. So yeah, and then on Milwaukee's end, I mean, game 3, Giannis being Giannis, you know what I'm saying? Once Giannis, right now, Giannis has to be the best player in the world.
Yes,
he has to be. Game 3 effort, he goes for 42, 12 and 8, 12 rebounds, 8 assists. I mean, then he gets 25 from Drew Holiday, and the rest of the cast, rest of the supporting cast is just there, man. I mean, Giannis, it is so amazing to see the maturation of Giannis Antetokounmpo's game, man. Like for a guy that most consider a guy who's just really a rim runner, a guy who most consider he's not that great of a shooter or whatever. He's not just a great one-on-one guy, but he finds a way to score.
He does.
And now that he's different from some of the years past, like everybody remembers that bubble year when Miami kind of created the wall for him and everything. Mm-hmm. The difference between that Giannis and this Giannis is that he's a much better and willing passer. Like I said, he just had 42, 12, and 8 assists. A couple years ago, you couldn't really see Giannis with 8 assists. You know what I'm saying? But now he's such a great passer, especially out of the double team. He's developed a little bit of a post game. So now he has somewhere where, he can get the ball and just be in one area where he's going to draw a double team. And then he's able to kick out. And then we all know if you let him, we all know he can get downhill and get to the bucket. And if you crash in on him, now he's able to, really find some guys. And they got the shooters knocking them down. You know what I'm saying? Grayson Allen shooting the ball pretty well. He's had some great games here in the playoffs. Matt Connaughton, even their bigs, Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, even though they're big, those guys can step out and make the 3.
They can.
So if you got a lineup with Giannis, and then you got Portis and Lopez, and then they got Wesley Matthews and Grayson Allen, all 4 of those guys out there can spread the floor. All 4 of those guys can shoot. So it just opens the lane so much for Giannis. So now it's kind of hard to build that wall because those guys are knocking them down.
And I think the Bucks, the advantage that they have. First of all, I think even though the teams are fairly evenly matched, both really great defensive teams, um, both actually lack a true point guard, a true essential point guard. If we were to look at both teams, I
Well,
mean, I don't know who
I think I don't know. I think Milwaukee. I think Drew Holiday is a pretty solid point guard for
he's
them. I
solid.
think
He's
he's a
solid.
good
Even
leader. He gets them into places. Boston definitely lacks a true point guard.
a true point guard. I think where Milwaukee benefits are where they have the upper hand is they're the better shooting team,
Mm-hmm.
and they're bigger.
Yes.
And that creates so many problems, and it puts so much pressure on a Jason Tatum. Like a Jason Tatum can't afford to score 10 points, which is crazy because
Mm-hmm.
he had a bad game last game and they barely lost it. So what does that show you? That
And
shows you that Jason.
and that's something they can take solace in. You know what I'm saying? And even last game in that game 3, they got out. Milwaukee out rebounded them. It wasn't a terrible margin, but they did out rebound them 53 to 47.
Right. So basically, if Jason Tatum is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown is Jaylen Brown, they have a chance to win with their defensive efforts. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Marcus Smart is back in the lineup. I know he was hurt.
Yeah, yeah, and Marcus Smart, you know, he didn't have a great game either. He was 1 for 8 from the field. He only had 9 points. Jason Tatum, I mean, if he went 4 for 19, if Jason Tatum goes 6 for 19, 7 for 19,
They went.
Boston probably wins this
went.
game, you know, and that just shows you how evenly matched these teams are. Even now, they're tied again, man. These guys are going at it right now. I'm kind of zero. I'm kind of, you know,
Zero
checking
in.
in
You
on
watch
the,
them both?
yeah. I'm trying to, but yeah, man. I mean, moving forward, I think this is a 7-game series.
And I will say this. Obviously, we're going to get into some other series. I think whoever wins this series is going to the finals. And it's nothing against Miami.
I am
we're gonna
coming.
talk about
You know
that.
what? I'm coming. Initially, I was thinking, you know, man, I don't know, man. I like this Miami team. Maybe they can, but the more and more I'm watching these two teams, the more I'm really starting to agree with that notion, man. Because these two teams, they're really looking like the class of the East right now, you know.
They
And nothing,
are.
once again, nothing against Miami, nothing against Philly, who we'll get to them in a minute, but nothing against them who came back, won their 2 home games and tied the series. But I don't know, man. These two teams are, I think, in the Eastern Conference, it's these two teams and then
Everybody
Miami.
else, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because everybody's on Miami. Obviously, they finish as the number 1 seed in the East, but Miami lacks that star power that ultimately can get them over. They have the team chemistry. They have the defense.
They got the depth. Yeah.
They got the depth, but they don't have that guy that when the chips are down, they can depend on. That's what hurts them. So
yeah,
that's the only reason I don't have them in contention. But I think we could be looking at. I think we could be. I'll go even further. I think we could be looking at the winner of this, not just making it to the finals, but ultimately winning it, just based off of how they play defense.
I could see that. I do think that this series goes 7 games, and I think I'm still gonna go with Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
I just think in a series where it's so dependent on their top dogs, on their stars. As I just said, I think Giannis is the best player in the world. And I think, come a game 7, as he did last year to close out Brooklyn, and as he did last year to close out Phoenix in the finals, I just think you'll see a bona fide superstar be a bona fide superstar, and he'll find a way to get Milwaukee over the hump, even without Chris Middleton.
And we've seen him, and we're seeing him do that.
Absolutely. I mean, 42, 12, and 8. I mean, well, what can you ask for, man? And
nice.
With that being said, since we already referenced them, we'll go ahead and get into this Miami Philadelphia 76ers series. I'm not gonna lie, I think I wasn't expecting Joel Embiid to come back for game 3. I didn't think he'd come back so soon. And because of that, because I didn't think that he would come back so soon, I thought that Miami would get one of these games in Philly, and then I thought they would probably just close them out in 5, you know what I'm saying? But Joel Embiid did come back. he absolutely proved his worth, and he showed you just how important and how much of a difference that he makes on that team and in this series. And to be quite honest, man, Miami doesn't have any. Well, it's hard to say any team does, but Miami really doesn't have any answer for him. Miami is really they're really a small team. You
They
know what I'm
are
saying? They play Bam at the 5, and Bam is only really about
6'9".
6'8" or 6'9". Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now you got Embiid back, and Embiid is a load. In the game yesterday, in game 4 yesterday, we finally had a James Harden sighting. And even with that though, just you know what I'm saying, even with that being said, I mean James Harden, he ended up with 31, I believe. Yeah, James Harden ended up with 31,
6 of
but
10 from 3.
he was 8 for 18 from the field. He was 6 of 10 from 3. And then obviously, he's gonna obviously, he's gonna get to the free throw line. He was 9 of 10 from the free throw line. So I mean, kind of a James Harden game, and the type of game that they were probably looking for in games 1 and 2.
Pass. Right.
Yeah. Now, okay, do I think that this is him turning the corner? Do I think that he can consistently do that for them? No, I don't. I don't know what's going on with James Harden, but I think ever since the calf injury or whatever that was last year, when he was with the Brooklyn Nets, I don't think James Harden has been the same. And that includes, his time earlier this season with the Nets and then his time now with Philly. I just don't think he's the same. He doesn't have that same burst. He hasn't been able to really get past people. I don't think we'll see another one of those 40 and 15 assists or 50 and 17 assist games from him. I don't think that's who he is anymore. And I think he has himself to blame for that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he necessarily takes his conditioning or takes the game as serious. You know what I'm saying? We all know his escapades at the strip clubs and everything. We all know the man loved to party. It's I mean, it's known knowledge. We know he loves to party, but I'm not sure if he'll be able to consistently replicate efforts like he did last night. But I think that their advantage and ultimately what could be Miami's problem is, once again, they have no answer for Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid can be the difference maker in this series. Also, another big point for them, Miami, and I'm gonna look this up.
First of all, Victor
Right.
Oladipo had 15 points.
He did.
Just
They shot. There we go. He shot. Miami shot 7 for 35 from 3. They didn't shoot too bad from the field. They shot 46% from the field, but 20% from 3. 7 for 35. You know what I'm saying? And this is coming from Philly shot 16 for 33. Just a contrast. 48% from 3. And this is coming from a team in Miami who, if I'm not mistaken, were the number 1 3-point shooting team in the league and the number 1 team at defending the 3. So, I mean, therein lies a difference there. And I'm going to say one more thing about Miami. I don't know. Let me double check. Okay, no. Okay. I don't know if you noticed, but one noticeable name that I don't think he has played this entire series, and all of a sudden he's kind of in the doghouse. Duncan Robinson hasn't played 1 second in this series.
That's true.
And we're talking about a guy who, for the past couple seasons,
has been one of their key shooters coming off the bench.
Exactly. And I understand why, because he is a bit of a defensive liability. But I think for everything Miami is, for as talented as they are, for as deep as they are, they have stretches offensively where they struggle to score. Right. And part of it may be because they don't necessarily have that guy that they can just go to and just be like, give me a bucket. I love Jimmy Butler. Butler has his moments where Butler has his moments.
I mean, obviously he had 40 points last game, but
you can't really count on him consistently to get you that 27, 28, 30 points, you know what I'm saying? Because that's I don't think that's who he is by nature. I don't think he's that aggressive guy by nature. You know what I'm saying? I think that he truly fits this Miami team in the fact that it's normally a team effort for them, because you never know who's going to be their leading scorer in any given game. It could be Jimmy. It could be Tyler Hero. It could be Bam Adebayo. Kyle Lowry could get hot. You know what I'm saying? Victor Oladipo could come off the bench and get hot. You know what I'm saying? You never really know who's going to be their leading scorer. But I think they may want to look into possibly seeing if they can find some minutes for Duncan Robinson, because Duncan can get hot. We seen him in the first round. I think that was game 1 in the first round against Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And I think he went 7 for 8 or 8 for 9 from 3. You know what I'm saying? Got hot. And it may be, especially going back home, there may be something that, you know what I'm saying, Eric Spoelstra might want to look into.
He's a streaky guy.
He is.
But if he's hot, he's hot. We got a hot hand. Him, you know, he can.
Bro, not to cut you off. Al Horford is having a resurgent game if I ever seen one. Like I don't know what's going on, but
I'm gonna tell you this quietly. Al Horford's probably been having the best series of his life against the Bucks.
He is playing.
He's been turning in some great. He's been turning in some great performances. You're
playing his tail off in this fourth quarter.
He had 22 points and 16 rebounds last week and 5 assists.
Yeah,
he's been hooping.
Yeah, his old man. He didn't. I don't know what's going on, man, but he been doing this thing for them.
So let me ask you this quick segue question.
Okay.
Do you feel like Joel Embiid got robbed MVP?
I'm glad you mentioned this. I am so glad you brought this up because at some point I was going to bring it up. Okay. All right. I don't think he got robbed. I don't.
Okay, I don't either.
I think that he was deserving. I wouldn't have had a problem if he won this award. I wouldn't have had a problem if they gave it to Giannis. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, I don't have a problem with them giving it to Jokic. I don't think Jokic didn't deserve it. Okay. Let me say this, man. And I was watching ESPN earlier. Now, I believe PER, player efficiency rating, right? Mm-hmm. I believe they started that stat in the mid 90s, I believe, right? Do you know that this year, Nikola Jokic had the highest PER of any season in history since they started?
Learn me something. Learn me something.
He had the highest PER of any player in history since they started keeping up with that stat. Okay, that includes the some of the high PER seasons Michael Jordan had. That includes the numerous high PER seasons that LeBron has had. And granted, Jokic wasn't far behind this year. He was maybe about 6 or 7/10 of a point behind him this year. I mean, not Jokic. Embiid was maybe about 6 or 7/10 of a point behind him this year. But Jokic had the highest PER of any player in history since they started that stat. Okay, he led the league in triple doubles this year. And then let's take a step back and look at these guys. Okay, for all, because I seen a lot, on social media today talking about.
Oh, people are pissed. People are pissed.
I even had a friend who said that the NBA is trying to push this narrative on foreign guys winning the MVP. They're trying to change the game because Giannis won it 2 years in a row, and now Jokic has won it 2 years in a row. And then he said next, don't be surprised if Luka Doncic wins it 2 years in a row, which I can see that happening, but just because Luka's that good a goddamn player.
Right.
That's fucking Luka. Okay, excuse my language. But with that being said, I mean, let's look at the two aforementioned guys, you know what I'm saying? Embiid and Jokic. Obviously, Embiid had a phenomenal season. And once again, if he would have won the MVP, I would have had no gripe with that. Right. But let's be for real here. If we look at both teams, okay, you can say Jokic is the best player or Embiid is the best player between both teams, however you see it, 1 and 2. Okay. After those two guys, the next 3 to 4 guys are going to be from the Philadelphia 76ers. After those two guys, if you can go Tobias Harris, you go James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, all those guys are from the Sixers. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, what? Maybe you say, okay, Aaron Gordon or Will Barton. You know what I'm saying? But none of those guys, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, James Harden has already proven all of those guys can be 20-point per game scorers.
Right.
All those guys can be that. Aaron Gordon's not getting you 20 a game.
He's not. He might give you like 15.
Will Barton's not getting you 20 a game. Jokic has 2 years in a row. he's kept the Denver Nuggets relevant, and he's gotten them to the playoffs
without a second and third
Jamal
option.
Murray and with Michael Porter Jr. missing substantial time. So that's why he's the MVP. Highest PER rating in history, led the league in triple doubles, career high in points per game. I think he was getting 27.8 a game, career high in points per game, over double. I think he was getting 27, 13, and 8 assists. You know what I'm saying? So,
quick fun fact: the Golden State Warriors didn't go there and run through them. They were barely winning games by 3 and 4 points. So we could easily they're a Jamal Murray or a Michael Porter Jr. away from winning that damn series.
And
that's how close he kept it.
And granted, this is a regular season award. Okay. So it's not taking into effect what Embiid is doing in the playoffs. Okay. Regular season award. Denver didn't lose to a scrub team.
No, they lost to a contender.
The Golden State Warriors, a lot of people see them as the eventual champions. Yeah. Or at worst, winning the Western Conference. So it's not like they went out there and lost to some scrubs. They lost to a heck of a team. FYI, you Athens, they say them has 24-13, 5 assists right now. 25-13, 5 assists in the fourth quarter. And Boston is up 6, I think. But I mean, Denver didn't lose to just some scrubs. You know what I'm saying? They lost to a bona fide championship contender, a team that most people consider, like you said, are at least gonna come out of the West. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, answer your question. I have no gripe with Jokic going back to back. You know, I've been a Jokic fan anyway, man. You know, I love that dude, man. And I have no gripe with the decision, man.
Yeah, I was arguing with some people, and just seeing what he's did. And first of all, let's go ahead and mention this, and let's always throw this out. He's doing this without a lick of athleticism.
Like, as I always say, man, I don't think he can jump over a phone book. You know what I'm saying? But, and then when I say this again, I'll die on this cliff. Jokic is the best passing big man in NBA history.
To ever do it.
He's the best passing. Okay, Vlade Divac, Sabonis, Tim Duncan, whoever, Brad Miller, whoever. Okay, Jokic is the best passing center in NBA history. We've never seen. They literally run their offense. He brings it up like a point guard. They literally run all of their offense through him, not just dumping it to him to score. He is their facilitator. Jokic, as a 7'1" center, he facilitates their offense. They're not just running their offense through him and working off of him. He facilitates their offense. We've never seen that from a 7-footer. None of those guys. And I love Sabonis as a passer. I loved Vlade Divac as a passer.
Jokic finished second in assists last season behind a point guard, which was Russell Westbrook.
Come on, man.
So that tells you everything.
At 7 foot, as a center, at 7. Come on, man. Best passing big man ever. But I'm sorry, but yeah, getting back to this Heat 76er series. I'm not gonna lie, I am surprised that Philly tied this series up.
I thought Miami was gonna go through. I just knew Miami was gonna go 3-1 to get him out of there.
I thought so too. They really showed some real grit. So that makes things interesting going back to Miami. Miami does have some adjustments to make, some decisions to make, some things. Like I said, I think even though I think he is a liability on the defensive end, I think they might want to try to find a way to get Duncan Robinson some shots, just for the simple fact that he can spread the floor. Maybe he can give them a little spark that they need. So here we are, 2-2. If I'm going to make a decision, whoo-wee.
They have 10 now. I felt like you was looking at the Bucks.
Yeah, Grayson Allen just hit a 3, so yeah, they up 7. All right. If I'm gonna make a decision now, I'm gonna say this, man. And it's crazy, but I'm gonna go ahead and Joel Embiid coming back makes just that much of a difference for this Philadelphia
You
76er
think the
team. And I
76ers can
think
pull this out? You think they can make it through?
they're gonna have to win a game in Miami. They're gonna have to. Yeah, man. I think I'm gonna go Philly in 7. I think I am. Just because I just think they don't have any answer for Joel Embiid. And either game 5 or game 7, he's gonna in Miami, he's gonna have one of those Joel Embiid games where he's just alone and they have nothing to do with him, and he's gonna get them to victory.
And I'm gonna tell
They
you
just
something.
don't have an answer for him. And I love that Miami team, but they just don't have an answer for him.
And it's funny that you say that. I'm not gonna fight you too much on it because even though I believe that Miami is the better team, top to bottom,
Mm-hmm. So do I, top
I
to
say
bottom.
top to bottom they're a better team. But I say this all the time especially when it comes to crunch time, the NBA playoffs, you have to have that guy that when the chips are down, he gonna be like, "Let me get the ball. Like, just
You
give it to
do.
me. Let me
You
work."
really do.
And
You really
Miami,
do.
unfortunately, as much as we like Jimmy Butler, he's not that type of guy. I mean,
He's
it was
not
to the point to
not
where
consistently.
he's not consistently. He gave us 40 points last game. He might give us 15 next game.
Yeah,
15 or 17. That's Jimmy Butler. He's more of an efficient two-way player than a dominant number one option.
I
Um,
agree.
but obviously Philly, Joel Embiid he's gonna be Joel Embiid day in and day out, right? I mean,
Exactly.
you're looking at a low of 28 or 30 or something like that, but he can give you 40 or 50. That's just how good of a player and how complete of a player that he is at this point in his career. So I'm not gonna fight him too much. I would like Miami to win because I do like that Miami team. I like the grit. I like that they work hard. I like that they're very similar. Honestly, this Miami team is very similar to the Memphis Grizzlies teams of the was it the late 2000s, the early 2010.
You talking with
Zebo.
Conley and Zebo, Gasol, Tony Allen and them.
They're very similar to that team. They were a very well-rounded team that could win a lot of games, but they didn't have a superstar that could take them over the top.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see
And
that.
they always
Not
lost to
yeah, I can see that.
and they always lost to teams that were slightly more talented than they were.
Yeah, that had a guy that they could depend on to go just kind of go get a bucket when they needed one. Yeah,
exactly.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
Right. So,
but yeah, I'm definitely gonna go. It's crazy. I'm gonna say this, but yeah, man, I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Sixers in 7. I think they get one of these games in Miami.
Well, I'll tell you this: if they get one of these games in Miami, they're gonna need James Harden to beat James Harden for at least one of those games.
I don't think
Joel Embiid can do it. But
now that Embiid is back, I just think James Harden has to. If he don't necessarily have to have the 25 or 30, but if he can get like the 18, 19, and then have 11 or 12 assists, and then now they can get either Tobias Harris to get 20 something or Tyrese Maxey to get 20 something. I think that can be a formula for them to win as well.
First of all,
Tyrese Maxey, and we've been talking a lot about Jordan Poole, and we're gonna get to him in a minute. Tyrese Maxey is earning himself a paycheck as well.
Yeah, he is.
I saying that, he's a guy that I've kind of followed since high school, and I'm not surprised seeing this. Even at Kentucky, you know what I'm saying, he had a pretty solid freshman season at Kentucky, and I'm not surprised seeing this from him. He's a really talented kid, a really gifted scorer, a really solid shooter. I'm not surprised seeing this from him.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, but I was saying time comes at us fast. Mm-hmm. If you'd have told me 2 years ago that we would sit here and say, "Damn, James Harden, all he has to do is give us 18 to 20," I'd have called you a liar. Like, it's impossible. But life comes at you fast. I liken his fall. I liken his rapid descent to like Carmelo when he was in OKC.
Okay.
One minute he's a superstar. The next minute
in New York, and he's still yeah, I agree, man.
It happened.
And like I said, I don't know. I think it's a mixture of the injury,
conditioning,
along with the fact that he's just never been big on his
taking care of his body,
conditioning and taking care of his body. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, yeah, life comes at you fast, man. And then he's not young anymore. No, you know what I'm saying? He's in his 30s now. You know what I'm saying? He's not young anymore. So, I mean, life comes at you fast, man. And before you know it, Now you're just, you're another role player. But I think what helped James Harden is that he is still a pretty solid and willing passer. So I think moving forward, even after this season, I could see him moving into a role of more of a true prototypical point guard. And you'll see him have maybe a lot more, 17 and 11, 18 and 10, something like that. So I could see him leading the league in assists, you know what I'm saying? But him being that scorer that he once was, that, as some people argue, one of the best scorers in history, him being that guy is no
that's over.
longer.
There's no
Yeah,
longer.
that he's no longer that guy.
Damn. That just
Yeah,
shows you how
man.
fast it can come. So what we
It
doing
does,
next?
man. Let's do let's go Dallas Phoenix. The other series here, there's 2-2. Let's go Dallas and Phoenix.
Yeah.
So Dallas won both their home games. They held serve at home to tie this series up at 2-2. Last game here in game 4, they made 23s. 8 of them from Dorian Finney-Smith.
Right. He had a
he was 8 of 13 from the field. All 8 of them being threes. 8 for 12 from 3. All 8 of them being threes. He had 24 points to go along with Luka's 26. Luka didn't shoot the ball well. He was 9 for 25 from the field. He was 1 for 10 from 3. But he ended up with 6 points, and he had 11 assists. And he did make some tough buckets down the stretch when they needed it. But yeah, I think the thing for Dallas is, Luka's gonna find a way to get his.
Always.
The thing for Dallas is, can they consistently find that second guy who can come along? You know what I'm saying? Because Luka's gonna be there 30, 40, whatever. Can they consistently find that number 2 guy that can come along and help the cause?
And finally, somebody has revealed themselves.
Who we talking about here?
Oh, Jalen Brunson.
Jalen Brunson, yeah.
He's been a hell of a second option.
He had 18. Yeah, he had 18 last game. I think he played better when Luka was out. And for obvious reasons. I mean, he had the ball in his hands a lot more. He was depended upon a lot more. I think he played a little better, but yeah, still he still chipped in with 18. I think ideally, Jason Kidd, coach for the Dallas Mavericks, I think ideally he would like for Jalen Brunson to be that number 2 guy. But I think, like I said, Dorian Finney-Smith ended up with 24. He hit 8 threes. I think he'll take it where it comes. I think that moving for Phoenix, I think that DeAndre Ayton, if DeAndre Ayton is dominant, if he dominates, because Dallas doesn't really have anyone that can guard him. If he can be dominant, Phoenix should win this series. However, if he's not dominant and aggressive, that's probably my only gripe with DeAndre Ayton. I don't know if it's because of the team that he's on, that because he's not the number 1 option, but sometimes he's not as aggressive as I would like to see him, because the tools and the skill set is there. 100%. But if he's not that dominant guy, and Dallas can go out there and play relatively small and spread the floor, and they're knocking down threes, Dallas can be a dangerous team. You know what I'm saying? If they can get Dorian Finney-Smith to hit 8 threes, last series against Utah, Max Kleber came in and hit 8 threes in a game. You know what I'm saying? Like if they can get, Reggie Bullock can get hot for him. Spencer Dinwiddie has struggled the entire playoffs. I don't know what's going on. It's a little surprising to see, but he struggled the entire playoffs. But yeah, if they can get some of their guys, Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock, Kleber, Bertans came in and went 4 for 6 from 3 last game for 12 points. If they can get their guys to really kind of spread the floor and knock down the 3 and space it out for Luka to continue to attack the bucket and score, who knows what can happen, man. On Philly's side, in game 4, man, Chris Paul caught himself on Phoenix side, excuse me. Yeah, on Phoenix side, Chris Paul, he ended up catching himself in a lot of foul trouble.
Yep.
And so, he ended up having one of his worst playoff games with 5 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. He ended up fouling out early in the fourth quarter on what I do think was a terrible call. I wouldn't have made that call, but
Mhm.
he did ended up fouling out. And yeah, I think for Phoenix, I think that DeAndre Ayton has to be aggressive. And he didn't have a terrible game. He
No,
went 14 and 11 rebounds off 7 for 12 shooting.
two
He didn't
assists.
have a terrible game, but I think I don't know if DeAndre Ayton had really asserted his dominance on the block. FYI, Boston won. So the series is tied 2-2 with them.
Well, I'll say this when speaking about Phoenix outside of DeAndre Ayton, I think they turned the ball over a lot,
They did. They
and
did.
we're looking at
Uncharacteristically.
uncharacteristic. So it's just a sloppy game because we're looking at Devin Booker, who okay he had 35, but he was negative 12.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, it was just a sloppy game. They were giving the ball away. Um, they weren't efficient. Obviously, they weren't doing as much on the defensive side of the ball as they could have. And I mean, you just can't. I mean, I hate to say it. I think the worst thing in the NBA's worst nightmare is Luka Doncic with help. And
Yeah.
now
Oh
he's
yeah.
getting guys that are stepping up. Jalen Brunson, I mean, we're 18 points. This was probably his his uh his low in this year's playoffs. He's had games of 23, and I want to say he's probably had a 30 plus point game as well, but he's been very consistent scoring in double digits and really putting the ball through the hoop. And then now we're seeing Dorian Finney-Smith do some things to try to make his name relevant as well. So
Hmm.
it's kind of it's. I feel like the Suns are in trouble. I'm not gonna lie. After
Oh
the
yeah. I
Mavs
can
won
see
this
that.
last game, I genuinely feel like the Mavs can beat the Suns now.
I think that it's feasible. Miles Bridges didn't have a good game for them
He
either,
didn't.
and I know Miles Bridges is kind of taking on um the brunt of, well, yeah, he's kind of taking on the brunt of the assignment against Luca, even though Phoenix is trying to throw a ton of different bodies at him. But yeah, he didn't have a great game either. He was 3 for 9 from the field with only 6 points. So I mean, and then in a game where Chris Paul was in foul trouble and he wasn't, really, he didn't really get that much of an opportunity to really impact the game. He only played 23 minutes. They needed a Miles Bridges to kind of come in and kind of pick up the slack a little bit. Um, I do think. And just as an aside, man, I've been noticing some in this series. Um, they've been trying to they've been spotting Cam Johnson some minutes guarding Luka Doncic, and Luka Doncic is killing him. Like I feel like every game he has a highlight on Cam Johnson. Like, and it's crazy because I mean Cam Johnson is 6'8". He's not a little dude, but Luka's making him look small. Like he's just taking him to the bucket and bumping him, and he's not even feeling Cam.
I
Like he's
mean,
just
look.
going and finishing.
I mean,
Man,
I think they felt like we're gonna do the best we can. But let's be honest, we've seen Paul George and Kawhi Leonard try to
yeah,
guard Luka
and and and,
Doncic,
and, he, and he did the same thing to them. The
so
other
yeah.
the other day he put a move on Cam Johnson. It was all Sports Center. He put a move on Cam Johnson, made him fall. Cam Johnson got back up, and then he jumped right into his chest and finished over him. Like, come on, man. Come on, man.
Yeah, he's
Like
just
Luka a bad boy, man. Like Luka's a bad boy. And once again, he didn't game 4, he didn't shoot all that well, but I mean his impact was still felt, man. Luka's a bad boy. And as I mentioned earlier, don't be surprised if Luka goes on and wins an MVP at some point in the season.
I think it's coming. I think when we talk about Luca, and this is the scary part, we're talking about a guy who comes in every single season out of shape. So he's still becoming disciplined in a lot of ways when it comes to playing the game of basketball. He's still, I mean, he really can still get a lot better. That's the scary part.
Yeah,
And for him, the NBA, it just looks so. Is it just me, or does it just look so damn easy to him?
it does
It
because
looks
I
easy.
mean, like I said, man, here in America, we get so enamored with athleticism now, whereas overseas
Physicality,
they're
technique.
stuck on the basics with technique and fundamentals. You know what I'm saying? So a guy like him or like a Jokic, they can come over here and not necessarily be athletic, but still find a way to be successful because they have the foundation, they have the fundamentals, they have the skill. You know what I'm saying? They're crafty, they're nifty. They can find ways to score. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. As for this series,
Where do you see it going?
Philly, Phoenix, Dallas. I still think that Phoenix is the better team. Um, I'm gonna say Phoenix still wins this series, but I'm gonna give it to Phoenix in 7. I think Phoenix wins this next game going home, and then I think in Game 6, I think Luka Doncic loses his mind. I think Luka might have a 40-point triple double or something in Game 6 just to keep them alive. They squeak out a win and keep them alive, and then Game 7, Chris Paul is Chris Paul, and I think Phoenix wins this series in 7 games, man.
I got the Mavs in 7.
Okay, and
I got the
that
Mavs.
wouldn't be a surprise. That wouldn't be a
Yeah.
surprise.
And I think it's just because of what you're seeing consistently, not even at a Dorian Finney-Smith, but at a Jalen Brunson. When you get let's think about this. The Mavericks won this game 111 to 101, and this was probably considered a bad game by Luka Doncic. This was probably
Yeah.
a down day for him at 26 points, and his team was able to come up for him. Maxi Kleber was efficient, playing defense and scoring points, and obviously Dorian Finney-Smith made his presence felt. But once again, let's say next week or next game, we're looking at Luka Doncic. He probably has a 30-point game. This was actually a down in this year's playoffs. This was a down game for Jalen Brunson as well at 18 points.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we're seeing him score 25 plus points on a very consistent basis now. So this Mavericks team is showing a lot of resiliency, but there's still a lot more under the hood that they haven't showed. So I'll be honest. I think that the difference between the Mavericks and the Suns is you have a guy in Luka Doncic who there's no answer for. Whereas you look at the Suns, I mean, we're not gonna. As much as I love Devin Booker, he can have his highs and his lows. He can have his peaks and his valleys, and he may not every week give you 35, 40 points. Can he hoop? Hell yeah, he can hoop. He can shoot. He can do everything with the best of them. But I still have doubts about him as a night in and night out killer. But Luka, I know I'm going to get at least 25 points.
And see, that's where I think Chris Paul comes in at for Phoenix, because we've already seen him multiple times in this playoffs. Come the fourth quarter, he come out and just take over a game. You know
True.
what I'm saying? And that's where I think will make the difference. I just think this is going to be an extremely tough series, but that's why I just think in a Game 7 in Phoenix, I just think come that fourth quarter, Philly, Chris Paul is going to find a way for Phoenix to come out on top. And I'm not so sure, like I said with Dallas, okay, we know Luka's going to do his thing, but he's going to need consistently for somebody else to come along, you know what I'm saying? Whether it is a Jalen Brunson or a Dinwiddie, but he's going to need, especially schematically, he's going to need a Dorian Finney-Smith or a Max Kleber or a Dallas Bertans or whatever come along and knock down some 3-point shots, because that'll kind of draw DeAndre Ayton out of the lane. It'll make him kind of have to come out and stick someone, and that'll open up things even more for Luka. And I'm just not sure if for the rest of this series, if one of those bigs or one of those guys that I named can consistently knock down shots. And then on the defensive end, I think that, especially in this next game going home to Phoenix, I think that Phoenix will find a way to get DeAndre Ayton more involved and just kind of punish them on the block, and he'll be able to make his stamp. Don't be surprised, Game 5, DeAndre Ayton has, 24 and 14 or something, you know what I'm saying, and really puts an imprint on his game. So, yeah, I think, don't get me wrong, I could see Dallas winning. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think I'm still going to go Phoenix in 7. We got a lot of 7-game series, man. But yeah, I'm still going Phoenix.
Once again, very, very competitive. So we'll see what happens move forward. But obviously, I'm taking the Mavs. So look, you guys, we're going against each other, right? We're not agreeing on everything. So.
Right.
But let's get to the funnest. Okay, so even though it's not going to be as competitive as the other series, it's so fun to watch because you're seeing two different teams at separate ends of the spectrum. We're seeing Golden State, who's a team that's matured, and they understand the ebbs and flows of how to play and win games, how to win playoff games. They're very patient, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're seeing this young, energetic, I mean, all over the place, 100 miles per hour, a Memphis Grizzlies team full of young stars, and you know they look impressive all the time in the beginning, but the truth is that they're still learning a lot about really how to win and how to close out games. And we seen that just the other day. I want to say it was Saturday when Memphis played Golden State and they lost 142 to 112. They got the shit beat out of them in the second half. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. And it also coincided with John Morant, John Morant's injury. Um, so now and obviously right now, game 4 is starting for them. Golden State's up 2-1, but John Morant will
Will not play.
will not play. He'll be out for this game. So with that being said, this has been a fun series. With that being said, I mean it's kind of hard to see with their new development. It's kind of hard to see Golden State losing. John Morant was the one player on this Memphis team that Golden State had no answer for.
Mm-hmm.
No answer for. You know what I'm saying? He already had a 30-point game, a 40-point game in those first 2 games in Memphis. And yeah, they don't have anyone that can guard him. I think on the other end though, I mean when Golden State goes with their new, kind of small ball lineup, when they're able to get Clay and Steph, Jordan Poole, and then Wiggins and Clay, Steph, Jordan Poole, Wiggins, and Draymond Green in. I mean, it's kind of like their new depth lineup. And Memphis is having a problem, kind of sticking with those guys. Yeah, man. I mean, I honestly, I think Golden State is the better team. They're up 2-1. I think it's unfortunate that Ja Morant got hurt, but I think in this series, yeah, I mean, with that injury, I mean, it's hard for me to see Golden State not winning this series in 5 games. I think they're going to win tonight. And, even if Ja Morant plays next game, I still think that they go ahead and finish him off next game.
And once again, and I said this, but just to kind of go a little bit deeper, Memphis is a very talented team.
They are.
And to tell you the truth, Memphis isn't losing because Golden State is more talented than they are. This is talent. This is a experience and maturity issue, and I think Memphis needs to they got I mean they got the shit beat out of them the other night.
Yeah, but I do think that there's although I think Memphis is talented, I do think that there are tiers to this thing. Like even though I think Memphis has a lot of young talent, if we're putting them up and down, okay, you got Ja, Steph 1 and 2 or whatever. The next 3 or 4 guys are gonna be from Golden State. You know what I'm saying? Whether you want to say Clay and Jordan Poole now, Poole, you can argue Draymond Green in there, Wiggins, and then you may go, well, I'm not gonna put Wiggins ahead of Desmond Bane or anything, but the next 3 or 4 guys, are gonna be from Golden State. You know what I'm saying?
Well, then let's think about this, right? I mean, I think there are tiers. I could say that, but I can honestly say when watching Memphis play, Memphis has the talent to beat Golden State. They actually do. But for them, it's a pacing issue. They're so young. You watch that first quarter, they're up and down the court, 100 miles per hour. Yeah. And they're scoring and they're dancing and they're celebrating. And you're watching this Golden State team, and they're just like, okay, we don't care. Like, they're calm. They're letting the game come to them. And what did you see? Probably towards the end of the second quarter, they blew that motherfucker wide open. And the third and fourth quarter wasn't even a competition. They pulled ahead. They was above 20 points, and obviously they finished.
That's Golden State for you.
They've won. And here's the scary part about Golden State. Not only do they still have their same core than when they won the last 2 to 3 championships, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. And obviously Andre Iguodala, he's back in the fold. He didn't play the other night. He was hurt. But now you have these young stalwarts and Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga, who I love.
who's freaking
Yeah.
everywhere. Raw is a scorer, but he gave you 18 points the other night, and he can strap up on defense.
I think they're gonna really find some use for him. And then James Wiseman will probably come back next year. Like like the influx of talent between the experience and the youth. I mean,
that's the scary part. And I'm gonna tell you something that this is probably the biggest thing I like about them. They're such a selfless team. Watch it. We know who Steph is. Steph is the best shooter to ever step foot on a basketball court. Klay Thompson might be the second best.
I think so.
Right. They have given Jordan Poole the green light.
Yes.
They've given. Think about how selfless you have to be as a future Hall of Famer. You're in the playoffs.
He out there looking like Steph Curry Jr. Okay.
You're in the playoffs. You've been in this atmosphere numerous of times. You're more prepared for this moment than anybody else. And they're so selfless that they're stepping back and they're saying, we're going to give this kid the green light and we're going to let him do everything he wants to do. And Jordan Poole completely has the green light to do. If he wants to pull up and take a shot, he can pull up and take a shot.
And they just like everyone else, they see how special he is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I remember when he was he came out of Michigan. I remember seeing him in Michigan. He actually has one of those classic moments where he hit this crazy game winner in the NCAA tournament. And I remember when he was at Michigan, and I thought he was a solid player. I thought he would come into the league and be a really good shooter for some team, but the way his game has developed and to see his story, this was a guy that just last year was in the D League for a period of time, and then he was, and then he was doing he had the 2-way contract, last year, and now to see his development this year, to see the way he played while Klay Thompson was out, and to see, I mean, you could argue he could have been most improved player.
And I was going to say that.
I think Ja Morant won the award, but I think
he should.
I
don't think Ja Morant should have won that award. I think it was asinine to give it to him.
I was okay with them giving it to him, but I do think that you could have definitely given it to Jordan Poole. But to see the way he played this year and now the way he's playing in the playoffs, I think he has definitely been the breakout player of this year's playoffs.
27 points. He was 3 for 5 from 3. Plus 33. Right? He had 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Wait, 2 assists, my bad. I mean, this kid's everywhere.
Yeah. And I think you really hit it, just how selfless this team is, and you really kind of hit on the nail the fact that Klay and Dre and Steph, they've been in this situation, but the fact that they're still selfless enough to say, hey man, this dude is special, man. Let him do him, let's open up the flow for him, for a kid who once again just last year was in the G League, now to see the way that his game has matured and the way he's sprouting, man, is really phenomenal, man. And like I said, I mean, this Golden State team is, not only are they dangerous this year, but moving even
probably
in the future,
the next 2 to 3
influx, years. The influx of between experience and the youth that they have. You mentioned Jonathan Kuminga. Like I said, James Wiseman still hasn't came back from last year, and now this kid Jordan Poole. I mean, they're definitely heading in the right direction. Obviously, like I said, I think they're going to win this series. I think they're going to go to the finals. Before the playoffs, I think I had Golden State and Milwaukee, and I had Milwaukee winning that series, winning the championship ultimately. I don't know, we'll see, because they got their hands full with Boston. But yeah, man, I mean, I ultimately think that they're going to get to the finals. And then, like I said, for Memphis, man, it's just really unfortunate that, Ja Morant has, kind of got the injury. I don't think it's too serious, but obviously he's missing tonight's game. And I think it kind of robs them of an opportunity of really being competitive, continuing to be competitive, and really just kind of seeing, what could happen in this series and where it could go. Really just seeing Ja Morant and if he can, possibly lead them to the upset, because once again, they really didn't have any answer for him. So I don't know. Hopefully it's early now. They're still in the first quarter now. It's competitive, but it's still early in the first quarter.
And once again, I say this again. This Memphis team, as young as they are, they need a loss like this. They need a humbling loss like this to realize, like,
Yeah.
okay, we're good, but we can get a lot better. And I think it was good for John Morant to see it, especially set out a game like this to see his team.
And I know it
still
hurt. It got to hurt.
Oh, it hurts. You saw how upset he was when he got hurt. He was like, "Fuck!" Like, you know,
And
I didn't. This was
and up until that point when he got hurt, he had 34-7. Even up to that point he got hurt. I mean, like I said, they've had no answer for him.
But the next step for John Morant, now that he's essentially a superstar caliber type of player, essentially, I think we can go ahead and be real and say if he's not there, he's damn sure at the door. Is how can I make the players around me better? And that's going to be the next task for him. But this is once again the perfect team that you could play and lose against, because you're going to learn a lot about what it takes. Golden State, when you watch them, they're never flustered. I've never seen Steph Curry flustered and all over the place. They're always very calm.
Because they know it in a blink of an eye, they can go on a 20-2 run. Just like that.
Watch this. Only team I see can be down 20, 25 points and be like,
Bro, a couple years ago, I think it was one of those years when they had Kevin Durant a couple years ago, and I promise you, in the fourth quarter, they were down. In the fourth quarter, they were down 14 points, and they won the game by 16. I had never seen it. They were 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They were down 14 points, and they won the game by 16. I mean, but that's Golden State for you, though. You know what I'm saying? And then for Memphis, I want to say, too, for Memphis, I still think that they are a player away. You know, I like Desmond Bain. I like Dylan Brooks. I like Jaren Jackson Jr., but I think all of those guys are really good complementary guys. None of those guys, I don't think any of those guys, you can kind of put the ball in their hands at any time or in spurts, and they can get you a bucket here or there. I still think that Memphis is still one piece away. You know what I'm saying? If they could just find just that one more guy.
Maybe like a veteran wing.
Yeah, or even any guy, just maybe one more guy who they can consistently.
Maybe a Zach LaVine.
Now don't you go with that blasphemy now. Okay.
He's talking about leaving Chicago.
Okay. Now Zach
LaVine.
Look, Zach, you get your head together, okay, and you stay here. You know what I'm saying? All right, we got some things brewing now. You stay here in Chicago now, Zach. But in all seriousness, though, I mean, you know, if they could get a guy like that could really help. You know what I'm saying? Now you got another 23, 24 point per game scorer, a guy who you can put the ball in his hands in spurts and he can go, you know what I'm saying, get some buckets. Now you might be on to something. You know what I'm saying? Another guy who can penetrate to the bucket and. You know what I'm saying? And you already got the shooters in Dylan Brooks and Desmond Bain and Jaren Jackson Jr. for a big. He can shoot and he's a rim protector. You know, now you might be on to something now, but I think that's really what they need. Just that one more guy who they can kind of put the ball in his hands and he'll, go in spurts and, maybe he can average another 20 a game alongside Ja Morant's 25, 26, 27. Because Ja is going to continue to improve. He's shown that. He's going to continue 100%. To improve.
And here's the thing. We're not seeing anything out of Memphis that we didn't expect to see. We knew we was going to see inexperience kind of rear its head. We knew we were going to see them have games where they scored a lot and they looked impressive. We knew Ja Morant was going to be Ja Morant. But once again, it's just the experience. I think we're seeing it kind of come into play. They're going to get better after this year, and obviously we'll see what they add in free agency or whatever. Maybe they draft a player. I think they need to go after a veteran with this young core.
Right.
But kind of going back to Golden State, I said this. I don't know. Remember, I said this in 2018, probably like 2019. I said, you know what? I said, people better enjoy this now. They better enjoy this bad Golden State Warriors team. Because when they get healthy again and they come back to form, it's going to be hell to pay.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I compared it to like, you got a big brother or a big cousin and he's always whooping your ass. But guess what? That one day your uncle or your dad, they hold him down. They let you beat him up. Right. They let you hit on him. But you know damn well when he gets free that he's going to get a hold to you. right?
Oh yeah.
That's Golden State.
And their front office, like I said, their front office does a phenomenal job. You know what I'm saying? They go out and, I just talked about the draft picks with Poole and Kuminga and Wiseman whenever he comes back next season.
Who I
And
love.
then,
That's my pet cat.
oh yeah. And then they bring back Andre Iguodala. They go out and get a Andrew Wiggins, who I'm not gonna call him Andre Iguodala, but he's kind of in that same mold of player. You know what I'm saying? A long, kind of a wiry wing player who can go out there and guard, multiple positions. And, he made an all-star team this year. Wiggins can go out at this point. Wiggins can go out and get, 17, 18 a game. You know what I'm saying? He can surprise you. You know what I'm saying? So I really think that their front office has done a really, really, really phenomenal job. And I keep looking away because I'm trying to look at the score. They're still in the first quarter here. But yeah, their front office has done a really phenomenal job, man. And like I said, I'm just gonna look ahead. I think they'll play Phoenix, but I think it's even worse if they play Dallas. And I know you picked Dallas. I think it's even worse if they play Dallas because Dallas has no choice. At least with Phoenix, you know what I'm saying? Maybe they can kind of force them to play a big or something because of DeAndre Ayton. Mm-hmm. But with Dallas, their series is just going to be up and down. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's going to be playing small, and their series is going to be up and down. And granted, I don't think they have any. Luka might average 40 a game, but the score to every game might be 130 to 125. But I don't think you want to get up and down. You don't want to get in the track meet with Golden State.
No. It's not gonna work out in your favor. But I will say this: as much as we're talking about this Golden State team, I don't like their prospects against Milwaukee or Boston. I don't. I don't. I think it plays right into their favor. I think if they see a Boston and let's say Marcus Smart is 85% healthy, God forbid.
I agree.
These guys are going to strap up and they're going to put bodies on them. And that's the type of game. As a matter of fact, Boston might be the perfect answer to what Golden State does well.
Yeah, because they the way they play, you know what I'm saying, they got a like I said, what I like about them is that they have narrowed down their guys. They're only going to play their 7 or 8 guys. They're going to ride them. And then they're going to switch everything because they got a bunch of 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" or whatever. Right. So they're just going to switch everything. And then Marcus Smart, although Marcus Smart is only maybe 6'3", 6'4", or whatever, 6'5", whatever. But because of his body and the type of defender he is, he'll guard anybody. You know what I'm saying? Right. And Golden State doesn't have a dominant big. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, somebody's going to get a break in guarding Draymond Green. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and then on the other end, they're going to have to guard Jason Tatum. They're going to have to guard
and Jaylen
Brown. Yeah, they're going to have to guard those guys. You know what I'm saying? Boston's going to come in there and be physical. They're going to be in their grills. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be all up in, a Steph Curry, all up in Klay. They're going to be chasing Klay Thompson around. They're going to be all up in a Jordan Poole. Like I agree that would be a really, really, really interesting series, a really, really physical matchup. And then even with Milwaukee though,
Milwaukee's not far behind.
Now the difference,
and then they have Giannis
with Boston. Yeah. Now the difference, like I said, with Boston, they'll be able to play that small ball, and they just got these group of guys that they can just kind of switch everything, and they're a physical defensive team anyway. Milwaukee, not only can they be a physical defensive team, but they can beat you up on the backboard. They're just bigger. Yeah, like I said, between Giannis, Lopez, and
they're all 6'10" and up.
Portis, they're all 6'10" and up. You know what I'm saying? They can really beat up on them on in the paint, or all of those guys can stretch the floor. You know what I'm saying? They really don't. I mean, maybe they'll try Draymond Green on Giannis. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, good luck. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he gets in his head or whatever. Good luck with that. But I think, like you said, yeah, matchups potentially against both teams will be really, really, really interesting. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Chris Middleton is back by the end. And like I said, they're a good defensive. Drew Holiday, by a lot of NBA players' admission, Drew Holiday is one of the most underrated defenders in the league.
Right.
Damian Lillard said that. And a few other guys, Kevin Durant has said that. A lot of guys have been verbal about saying that Jrue Holiday is one of the most underrated defensive players in the league.
Well, that just shows you that, and that's why I said. And usually, I'm pro Western Conference, but Jesus Christ, what we're seeing at a Boston and Milwaukee, and even though Boston won tonight, I want to say what was it 116 to 106 or something like that, like that.
Yeah.
Milwaukee could very well win the next game, and I think the series is probably going to go 7 now. It's just looking too back and forth, too competitive, and here's the thing: Boston did this without Robert Williams.
They did.
Yeah, they did it without Robert Williams, and they rested him a game. So, once again, it's going to be a lot.
They really only played
6 or 7
guys. I think 6 or 7 guys. Yeah, because they, like I said, they're only going to play 8 guys. You know what I'm saying? They you'll see Smart, Tatum, Brown, Horford, Robert Williams if he's healthy, Grant Williams, and Pritchard and Derek White. You're only going to see those 8 guys. You know, Robert Williams is hurt today, so they have the starting 5, and then Pritchard and Derek White came off the bench, and that's really all you're going to see.
And
Udoka's going to rabbit his guys, and he'll rotate them or whatever. He's going to wrap those guys. They're going to switch everything, and they're going to be physical. They're going to get up in you.
And everybody plays defense.
Everybody plays defense, man.
And I'll say this just to kind of mirror what we're seeing kind of out of the Mavericks as well. Not to say that the Mavericks are the Boston Celtics, but we've seen improvement out of them. Mm-hmm. The same way Udoka has gotten Jason Tatum to play defense, we saw Jason Kidd get Luka Doncic to play defense.
Yeah, he's making a few strides there. You still want to see him do a little more, but he's doing a lot more than what he was previous. You know what I'm saying? Because and that's still not. He still has some work to go. But that's Jason Kidd though. That's Jason Kidd though. You know what I'm saying? And you'd have thought Rick Carlisle would have got that out of him too. But Rick Carlisle, apparently he and for whatever reason he and Luka reports they didn't necessarily see eye to eye all the time.
Right.
And I mean, I guess they just felt it was just time to move on from Carlisle. But that's Jason Kidd though, man. Jason Kidd is about the defense now. If you play for a Jason Kidd team, you're gonna sit in that chair. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna play a little defense. So I think and even when they hired Jason Kidd, I felt like he would have a really, really, really great impact on Luka Doncic because you know how I feel about Jason Kidd. I think he's one of the best point guards that ever played this game. I think he's
underrated.
I think he's underrated historically. You know, I don't think he gets enough credit, man. I loved Jason Kidd when he was in the NBA.
So yeah, and you can see it took him a little bit to buy in. Same way with the Celtics, but once they bought in, you start to see the jump in the improvement. So I like the way I like the direction that both franchises are headed. The Celtics, I mean, man, dude, we just had for 2 to 3 years we were saying, oh man, this is a young, talented team, but now we're seeing everything coming to fruition. Exactly. And they needed a Udoka to become the head coach. And
sometimes, and that's nothing against Brad Stevens because I think Brad Stevens is an excellent coach.
Yeah, he's a genius.
I think sometimes you just kind of need a new voice. Sometimes it's just time for a new voice. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sometimes you just need a different. Same with Dallas. You know what I'm saying? Rick Carlisle's a championship winning coach. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Rick Carlisle has literally been successful everywhere he's been, from Detroit to Dallas to his initial stint. I think he's with the Pacers now, but I think he had coached the Pacers before.
Right.
Either way, everywhere Rick Carlisle has been, he's won. You know what I'm saying? He's a great coach, but sometimes, it just needed to get a new voice in there. And I think that's the case in Dallas, and that was the case in Boston. And now you're seeing both those teams, be competitive in playoff series.
Whew. So I guess we got an interesting next couple of days ahead of us. These series are more competitive than I think people really thought. I mean, obviously we might see this Memphis one end a little sooner, but I mean, Philly, Miami had to, back and forth. They're tied up. Phoenix, Dallas, they're tied up, and obviously now we just saw the Celtics tie up with the Milwaukee Bucks, and that can go 7 as well. So this is a fun semifinals. I can't wait to the fucking conference finals. I'm hyped. I'm like, man, this is gonna be some crazy stuff. So this is a very fun year. Even if you weren't, or even if you fell off for a few years, this is a fun year to get back to watching NBA playoff
Oh
basketball.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah,
and for those old school heads, like the refs have really been letting these guys, especially that Milwaukee Boston series,
they let them
like the
play.
refs are really letting this playoffs be physical. Like I
Yeah,
think that's been the kind of the stamp on these playoffs. It's been physical. It's been a lot of hard fouls. Like it's really been physical. But yeah, I just want to say so real quick. Um, Game 4 right now, I think Golden State wins tonight, and I think they ultimately win the series in 5. Um, the next game for Dallas and Phoenix is in Phoenix. I think, like I said, I think Phoenix pulls that out. I think DeAndre Ayton has a great game. I think Game 6, Luka goes crazy in Dallas, and then ultimately they go back Game 7, and I think Chris Paul pulls it out for Phoenix in Game 7. So I think Phoenix wins. Phoenix wins Game 5, they lose Game 6, and then they're winning Game 7. I think that Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee. Excuse me. I think Boston wins Game 5
mm-hmm.
against Milwaukee at home. I think Milwaukee wins Game 6 at home, and I think they ultimately go into Boston and win Game 7 in Boston. So I think Boston wins the next game, Game 5. Milwaukee wins the last two and ultimately wins the series.
I'll be honest.
And
I really think. I mean, I really feel like Boston. They just have, even though Milwaukee is the championship team, and they won last year. It's something about
mhm,
this Boston team that's so special to me. They're very
mhm,
resilient, and I feel like we're seeing this young core finally take the next step. And they really have everything that they need outside of obviously a true point guard. But
mhm,
I'll be honest, I think if Jason Tatum can rise above and he can continue to be himself, and we see with Jalen Brown, I just don't see any reason why they lose. I mean, I think that they've established that they're not going to stop Giannis, and Giannis is going to be honest. But
mhm.
I don't think I don't think that there's any second option on that team that they should be worried about to consistently show up the rest of the
Yeah,
series and give them 25, 30 points. I love Drew Holiday, but let's be honest, Drew Holiday is kind of similar to what I talked about in and Jimmy Butler, more of like a 15 to 17 point guy that's going to play on giving you value on both ends of the floor.
yeah. I could see
So
that. I could have that little Phoenix Sun syndrome because last year I kept expecting Phoenix to falter and they got all the way to the finals. So I mean I could be having that
that's
same
a
syndrome
resilient.
with Boston, you know what I'm saying? Because they really haven't shown me anything to have me think any less of them. I just think that much of Giannis as a superstar. And I think
And
that's why I'm going with Milwaukee in 7 in that series.
and I'll say this, right? Giannis is the best player in the world. Jason Tatum is kind of punching his superstar ticket.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Jalen Brown is at least a star, but I'll
Oh
say
yeah.
this:
And they have a great 1-2 tandem for years to come.
they have a great 1-2 tandem for years to come. But Udoka is a damn good coach. He's
He
coaching
is,
his
man.
fucking ass off. He's making
He is.
adjustments. He
He
is
is.
putting the right lineups in. He's really putting the league on notice as the next really great very talented. I think he can become an elite head coach pretty soon. I mean, I think we're kind of seeing it coming to fruition right now.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
And he, after a slow start, he finally got them to buy into things defensively because
right.
I think that's where they've really just made the change defensively, and then seeing Jason Tatum continue to mature as a leader and as a scorer. But with that being said, I still think Milwaukee in 7, and then with this Philly Miami series, and this is probably the toughest series for me to pick, honestly. But like I said, I think Miami wins Game 5 in Miami. I think Philly wins Game 6, and then like I said, I think Embiid just goes out there and has a crazy game in Game 7. I think that Embiid goes into that game and reminds himself of what happened a couple years ago in Toronto in Game 7. That was the famous Kawhi Leonard 6
Mm,
bounces on the rim game winner.
mm.
But I think Embiid goes into that game and he remembers that and he channels that energy and he goes into Miami and stamps his imprint, shows why he's one of the best players in the world. And I think they go into Miami and they win. You know what I'm saying? They get somebody, maybe a Tobias Harris comes up with, 25, 26 or something. Maybe a Danny Green hits 4 or 5 threes or something. And I think Philly goes into Miami, wins a game 7. So that gives me Phoenix, Golden State in the Western Conference Finals, Philly and Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals.
And obviously, I'm the opposite. I'm almost the opposite across the board. Except for Memphis. I got Golden State winning that series.
Yeah. You got Golden State and Dallas.
But I think the Mavericks are going to beat the Suns.
Okay.
I got Miami beating Philly, and I got Boston beating Milwaukee. So I guess we'll have to see what shakes out when happens.
Yeah, all feasible, man.
So yeah, so that's another great Rooted in Sports episode in the books.
Yes, right? Sir. Yes, sir. Thank everyone for tuning in. Thank everyone that it's going to tune in. Once again, we got to give our plugs. You know what I'm saying? We'll right back here. Once again, Mondays, 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, 7:30 Central Standard Time. Rooted in Sports Community.
Every Saturday, Twitter Spaces.
Every Saturday, Twitter Spaces. What's that? 12 Pacific.
12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Check out Rooted in Sports on Twitter, and you'll find us. And we have our room open. We just chop it up and discuss. It's not just us talking. We get to hear your input on it, and you can put your 2 cents in it. And it's good fun, good banter,
Word.
A lot of debating. So have fun.
Word. And then obviously my brother King Tiberius here has the break room breakdown. Anything coming up new? Anything to look out for?
A few interesting episodes. We got 24 and 25 coming up, right? Within the next 3 to 4 weeks. A lot of interesting topics. May do some athlete to entrepreneur. May do some teaching people on sports betting and things of that nature. So a lot of juicy stuff in the pipeline. But the break room breakdown, very, very, very fun show. That's my personal show, but more on the education side and less banter, but still good fun.
Word. So y'all definitely be on the lookout for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us on YouTube at that's Rooted in Sports, ROOTED in Sports. Please don't forget to look us up, like and subscribe on YouTube. That way you get the notifications whenever we go live. And then also go ahead and give us a follow on Instagram, and that is also at Rooted in Sports, ROOTED, Rooted in Sports, man. Look forward to seeing you guys, man. We always up for any banter. We always up to go back and forth with anyone, man. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. And yeah, man. Anything, Kenny?
No, man. Hey, be blessed. It's a fun season. Obviously, let's enjoy NBA basketball. Draft came to a close, so we'll have some interesting period of sports coming up where things are starting to die down. So if you guys have any ideas or things that you want us to discuss or topic ideas you guys have, if you guys want to hear some top 10s, let us know. I mean, obviously we're going to come up on things on our own, but we're more than open than hearing what you guys' thoughts are on certain topics, whether it be basketball, football, or ultimately baseball, when we kind of jump in and dive into that as well.
Absolutely, man. Let us hear from you, man. Whether it be on the Instagram page or on YouTube, on the Twitter Spaces, with the Rooted in Sports community, man. We'd love to hear from you guys, definitely, man. And with that being said, that does it for today, man. Another successful episode, man. We see you guys soon. Much love. God bless.
God bless. Have a good one.